Hi, everyone. I'm Katie, and this is Fae and Fables, a podcast hosted by mental health counselors who take a psych deep dive into your favorite fantasy and romantasy books. Today, we are going to be talking about One Dark Window, which is the first book in the Shepherd King duology by Rachel Gillig. You might notice today that usually the hi, I'm Katie, hi, I'm Yarlin dynamic is not present. And I want to take a moment to explain that. Yarlin has had some life stuff coming up recently so that she's got to handle, and we've all been there. It's happened. And so we have decided to put our review of the Throne of Glass series on pause. But do not worry, do not fear. We will be back reviewing Throne of Glass, the second part of Tower of Dawn, come January. In the meantime, we thought it might be kind of fun to let you in on a little secret, which is that Yarlin and I are not the only counselors out there who are also obsessed with fantasy and romantasy books. You would be shocked how many of us there are out there. And so today I will be hosting this episode with my good friend Becky, who is a licensed mental health counselor. Becky, do you want to say hello and introduce yourself?
I would love to. Hello, everyone. I am a longtime friend of Katie's, and it is an absolute honor and privilege to be on the podcast today. Hoping everything works out with Yarlin, and also super excited to be filling in. I have worked in community mental health before for about 5 years or so, and I'm currently working at a college in their counseling center, working with students for individual counseling and have been reading fantasy for a very long time. ACOTAR is absolutely what started it for me, and the rabbit
Yes.
hole just rabbited. So, and
Yeah.
having kids makes it a little tricky to read as much as I would love. So I was in a little bit of a slump, and One Dark Window was like my maternity leave read, got
Mm.
me out of it. It was a book talk recommendation, and it was a great one. So when you were like, hey, want to help? I'm like, I have a plan already.
Yeah, I immediately so I texted Becky about it. I was like, "Hey Becky," and like I never want people to feel pressured. So I was like, "It's if you want to,"
You
and
were
like
so gentle.
you totally don't have to if you don't want to. And immediately Becky was like, "Yes, when is this happening? And I need you to like tell me more right now."
Like, do you need
So
me on now? I can get on now.
it was not a hard sell. And also you and I are going back and forth about books. I mean, we do have our slumps, but in terms of like we might not read for a little bit and then we come back, but anytime there's a good fantasy or romantasy book, we'll circle back and be like, "Girl, did you read this?" and have our little
Hmm.
chats. So it makes a lot of sense
It
that we would
does.
be here doing this today. So yes, today is going to be Katie and Becky. And we are still going to be very much in our usual flow. And that starts with some of our disclaimers, spoiler warnings, and things like that. First and foremost, please note that this episode contains spoilers for Book 1 of the Shepherd King duology by Rachel Gillig. So if you haven't read it yet, run away. Or if you just want to hear about it in story form, stick around.
I mean, maybe
Additional,
we'll tell it better than you've ever heard it. You never
maybe
know.
maybe we'll do even better than like a major published author in the storytelling domain. I'm excited for that. No, Rachel, we love you. Please never stop. Additionally, please note that several potentially triggering emotional and or traumatic themes may be discussed, which could be impactful or upsetting. Make sure that you take care of yourself and use caution if you're not in a space to engage with these kind of conversations. Furthermore, this podcast is hosted by two licensed mental health counselors, but it should not be used to diagnose, treat, or address any individual mental health concerns or conditions. The knowledge, opinions, and experiences we express related to mental health are our own and should not be applied to treatment. This is just for fun. If you feel like you need mental health treatment, please seek out your own individualized mental health care. And now I'm going to get into our order of events because, Becky, this is your first foray into the Fae and Fables
Yes.
world, but we have a way we do things over here. And the first thing we're going to do is provide our rankings and ratings. That's going to be our stars and our chili peppers. Then we're going to do our plots and thoughts analysis, where I'm going to take us through the plot of the book, and you're going to come in with commentary to help us better understand the psychology of the characters along the way. We have our teehee moments, which is basically any moment we get like Twitter pated or giggly, or we feel any kind of like hee emotions. We're going to do our therapy deep dive, where I'm going to expand on some of the real world context, and Becky will be providing her clinical expertise and some of her experiences. And then usually we would do future thoughts and theories. And Becky and I have we've read both books of the Shepherd King series already. So we're not going to do that part, but please note, we're not going to be spoiling anything for book 2 either. We're keeping it centered, we're keeping it mindful, we're keeping it book 1 oriented. And then we have our final reminders and social media shout out. So, all of that said, Becky, are you ready?
I have never been more ready in my life.
In that case, let us begin. Becky, what did you rate this book in stars? And then what did you rate this book in chili peppers or spice?
So absolutely gave it a 5 for stars. Any book
Yes.
where I feel like I read it fast, because I'm just a slow reader. So for me to get it done in a couple days, I was in it. Flew through it. All I thought about. So 5
Obsessed.
stars. Yeah,
Yeah.
just it was all right. 5 stars.
You're like, I went into a cave for 2 days. It's fine.
And yeah, it came out, a better person. Chili peppers. Okay, so I said a 1. However, as I was reviewing and taking notes,
Yeah.
there was a scene that made me feel like maybe a 1 wasn't really fair. So now I'm feeling like maybe a 2, because
Okay.
there was some things happening, some touching going on.
There was some mouth on things action that we were reading about, which is
Yeah,
something.
it was maybe only a page or so,
But
but it was there. It was well
I
written.
it made me feel something, so that's a something. I am very similar to you in my ratings. I rated it 5 stars. I thought the magic system was so cool. The like little rhymes with the cards, it felt so
Loved.
mysterious. The FMC and the MMC were incredible. Their like whole dynamic was amazing. The Nightmare was amazing to hear his little commentaries, which I know you
Yeah.
have thoughts about, which we'll get into. Yes. And I was in a similar place. I was like, do I give this 1 chili pepper or 2 chili peppers? And here's my general rule. This is another rule that I have through the podcast. You don't get a pepper unless I see a pepper. And so I didn't really see a pepper. So I had some dissonance there about that, but I
That's
did
true.
feel something. So I gave it a 1.5, bordering on 2. I also am deeply offended by Fade to Black sex scenes. I don't like that. I want you to explain it to me. What happens next? And there
Right.
was
Like I was ready for this moment, and I know it happened. However, I don't know enough about what happened.
like, who's to say what actually happened? It's like, did you rub my lamp? Did you bring me here? Like, you've led the horse to water, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then you jerked on the reins and you were like, never mind, pony. And I'm like,
Yeah.
please. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I ended with a 1.5, but I
I
could
feel
be
as though that's
convinced.
fair.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I could be convinced into a 2. So I'm glad we're kind of seeing this simpatico, that we're kind of in the same mind state. And with that, we're going to get into our plots and thoughts. Pop in anytime if you have a thought,
I
because
can't wait to relive this together.
I'm so ready to dive into this world. So, one of the things that was really unique about having to outline this book is that the backstory, the history, the lore is so rich. Even before you start the plot of the actual story in the present, there's so much that has led up to what unfolds. So I'm actually going to spend some time outlining the book, lore, and magic, and who the female main character is as we lead up to the plot. And we start our story in a town called Blunder, which feels a little bit like a funny or silly name, but I'm here for it. And in this town, there is a woman, a 20-year-old woman. Her name is Elspeth Spindle, which is also difficult to say if you try to say it too many times or too quickly. And she lives with her aunt and uncle and cousins out in the woods that surround Blunder. She's described as being very pretty. She's got this long, dark hair, pale skin, and charcoal, but sometimes yellow, depending on what's going on, eyes. And in this world, magic exists in two forms. You either get it by contracting an illness that leaves your veins black and causes you to degenerate mentally and physically. You step into what's called the mist. You get the illness or the fever, and then you have this innate magic. Or you wield it through one of 78 what are called Providence cards. And these Providence cards, they felt to me very, very like tarot-y.
Yeah.
It like has all the different categories. It's like the maiden, the mirror, the nightmare, and all that. But they grant you different powers depending on the type of card. Now, we're not going to get into all the different types and all the rhymes and riddles that go with each one because we would be here until dawn doing that. But there are 10 different kinds of cards from least powerful to most, with a different number of cards for each type. So it starts with 12. So there are 12 black horses, 11 golden eggs, 5 golden rings. That's not a part of it. That's not, I made that part
But
up.
it's the vibe of it.
Yeah. It is giving very haunted 12 Days of Christmas, if you will.
Mm.
And on page 19 of the book, it really describes how to use the cards in a way that I think is super succinct and great. So I'm just going to quote it. It says, anyone could use them. All it took was a touch and intention. Clear your mind, hold a card in your hand, tap 3 times, and the card was yours to wield. Pocket the card or place it elsewhere, the magic would still hold. 3 more taps or the touch of another person, and the flow of magic would halt. But use a card too long, and the consequences were dire. And then there's another little rhyme on page 32 that says, so mind how you use them and keep up your guard. 12 blessings, 12 curses, 12 Providence cards. I'm curious, Becky, what were your like reactions to the whole Providence card bit and like these rhymes and riddles as you were going along?
I absolutely loved the way that the riddles were written, that each
Mm,
card, I agree with you, very like tarot, even in the way that they described like the texture, like they have these velvety borders and, they all have different pictures on them. And so very much like gave that tarot vibe, however, way cooler,
yeah,
and could do so many things. And they always talked about these consequences. And so, you know, for whatever magic you use, there's an outcome that comes with it, and it plays out in so many different ways. And so it really was woven into the story so beautifully, especially with all of the rhyming that went along with it and the ways that different characters throughout the book, usually the nightmare, but sometimes other people as well, would use these like riddles to drop
yeah.
hints along the way. And I just love that.
Yes. I loved the Nightmare's little like riddle speak. Like there were times he almost seemed like a Rumpelstiltskin figure. He was just like creeping out of the darkness being like, beware the cards, and like would just sort of float into the background.
Yeah,
Uh
very much.
yeah. So in addition to these cards, because as you can imagine, wielding all this magic is a lot and it's complicated and there's rules and dangers and such. Um there was a book that kind of dictated how you might use magic in a way that was safe, and that sort of kept you from degenerating or from losing your mental or physical faculties. It's called the Old Book of Alders, and it was written by the Shepherd King. And there's a lot of lore around the Shepherd King, and we're going to try to be as succinct as possible. And please know It's complex. So the Shepherd King was gifted by magic by the spirit of the wood, and he uses that magic to create Providence cards, the ones we were just talking about. But every time he creates a Providence card, he has to give pieces of himself in order to do it. And this comes at great cost to him, as we'll find out later. But it also causes a rift between the Shepherd King and the Spirit of the Wood. The Spirit of the Wood is not just like this ethereal thing that has no thoughts and it is a spirit. It's like a thing that has emotions and has desires and wants. And the Spirit of the Wood became very vengeful because with the cards, no one was coming to worship her in the woods. That was how she got her power, by worshipers going into the woods to worship the spirit. And now that they had these cards, they stopped going into the woods altogether. So she got petty and she created a fucked up mist around Blunder to cut them off from other kingdoms and to lure people into the woods where they would lose their way and lose their minds. And that's when the fever and the magic's curse came about and granted people these innate magical powers. But all of this system is sort of unwieldy, mega powerful, and there were people born into Blunder who were born with or came down with this fever. And so folks who got this fever in childhood would get black blood in their veins. They could smell or interact with magic in different ways. And as I mentioned, the Shepherd King wrote this book to warn people after he had done this and was like giving away pieces of himself and seeing this vengeful spirit. He gave the book of Alders to the people to warn them about it, but also ultimately to tell them how to defeat the mist. So on page 37, it says, "The 12 call for each other when the shadows grow long, when the days are cut short and the spirit is strong. They call for the deck and the deck calls them back. Unite us, they say, and we'll cast out the black. At the king's namesake tree, the black blood of salt, all 12 shall together bring sickness to a halt. They lighten the mist from mountain to sea, new beginnings, new ends, but nothing comes free." So many riddles. So many.
And I just love it. I feel like the spirit of the woods is just a badass. And she was like, y'all are greedy. And here is the outcome of that. Like, how dare you ask so much of me?
Uh-huh.
I am important. I deserve things too. And so here it is.
Look
And
at
she was
me.
like, so you thought. So you
You were like,
thought.
oh, you want to wield magic in a real raggedy ass way? Well, welcome to my mist.
Yeah, things got real.
She said, not in my house, and we respect her for that.
We do.
And here's the thing. It's great that the Shepherd King gave us an answer to how to fix this mist, which is stealing people and taking them away. But the Spirit of the Wood took it a step further, in that she tricked the Shepherd King and told him how to defeat the mist only after he had bartered the most important Twin Alders card back to the spirit. So she was like, yeah, I'll tell you how to defeat me. Just give me this card. And then, like a jackaloon, he handed that card over. And then she was like, trick
You're gonna
bitch.
need that back.
She's like, so joke's on you. You do need the card, but I'm going to hold on to this one for you. And so we find ourselves in this world in sort of a sticky wicket. That the deck can't be united because the spirits got the Alders card, and the mist is undefeatable. Many kings have tried, many kings have failed, and that is kind of what sets up this world. And so what has happened since that time, Blunder of the present, is without a solution for the mist. The mist is encroaching upon the town and like cutting off crops and stealing people. And the kings with the last name Rowan, so all the Rowan kings up until this point, have created a system whereby instead of trying to help the people cope with this, they've have outlawed this innate magic that comes about from the fever, and created a whole law enforcement system around the destriers that hunt down magic wielders and throw them into a dungeon to die, or sometimes throw them or their families into the mist. So, not fair. I don't like that.
No, when you said like Rowan Kings, I almost started booing, but I didn't want to stop your
I
flow.
I encourage you to boo the Rowan Kings at any point it feels right to you. Um
Yeah,
because they're worthy of being booed. It's rough.
yeah.
So, that is the world we step into. And if you're like, "Wow, a lot's happened already." Yeah, yes, there's a lot to wrap your head around. I will say in the course of the book, it unfolds those details to you across time, so they give you little bits and pieces. I kind of, like, took all those bits and pieces and put it into a cohesive blurb. But they deliver it in a nice, like, thoughtful manner. So,
Yeah.
back to Elspeth. She is an adult. She is a demure 20-year-old woman. By demure, I mean she lives in the woods with her aunt and uncle, and she tries to stay out of trouble. And that's because 11 years ago, Elspeth became ill with the fever that gives people magic. And her father, Eric, who was a destrier, saw this all happen and was like, I cannot cope with this. Brought Elspeth to her aunt and uncle, whose names are Opal and Tarn. I'm going to do my best with pronunciations in this book. Please know, I read this. I read this in words. I didn't listen to it. So we might run into some snafus here and there, but I'm gonna try. Um, so he rolls up to Opal and Turn's house, and he's like, "Do you want to take my kid, and I'll pay you money all the time to take care of her?" And Turn, her uncle, who loves money, was like, "Thumbs up. More money will do." And they have children already, one of whom is Ione Hawthorne, who is Elspeth's best friend and her cousin at the start of this book. Eventually, with her Aunt Opal's help, Elspeth recovers from the fever and helps her hide her magic. And everybody, the story that they're telling anybody who needs to know, which is not many people, is that she miraculously didn't end up with magic from this fever. Although she absolutely, totally, totally, totally did. 4 months after that happened, her uncle returns home with a nightmare card, one of the Providence card. There are only 2 nightmare cards, so it's very rare. And when people use it, they can speak into the minds of others. But if you use it too much, it reveals your darkest fears and plays them back to you in your own mind. So her uncle, like the I'm just gonna say idiot. I was like, can I find a nicer word? But I don't have it.
No need.
It's not within me. Her idiot uncle leaves it out, just on a table somewhere.
In a home full of children, as one does.
You're like, as a person with kids, why? So he said, this super dangerous card, I'm just gonna leave this out for whoever wants to touch it. And Elspeth goes up to it, and what it depicts on the face is a monster, and this is like from the description, with coarse fur over its arching curved spine, a bristly tail. It's got these long gray fingers with claws, and a half man, half beast face and yellow eyes. Spooky. And she sees it, and unlike what I would do as a kid, which is probably cry and run, she wants to touch it. And so she does, and she smells salt, and then there's a flash of pain, and when she comes to, there's a voice in her head. the nightmare. And ever since then, he has been with her. Now, Becky, I know that you have thoughts and feelings about the nightmare. Do you want to like
Yeah.
what are your
So,
things with the nightmare?
I mean, Elspeth does describe that it was like a gradual intrusion in her mind.
Mhm.
Uh,
Mhm.
and there was curiosity around it at first, but it was definitely like unsettling.
Yeah.
And then I'm feeling as though I could be wrong, but from what I'm remembering, at through the course of the book is when it really starts to like gain its strength here.
Yeah.
And really starts to like communicate with her and interfere, but it kind of laid dormant for a while, was just like she describes this clicking noise that she would hear, and it was
Yeah.
kind of just the nightmare effing with her, to be honest.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
you know?
He
And
he
from
was
his
just
perspective, he's just, keeping her safe. And she's like, "You are a leech in my brain." Um, but also, I love
uh
him.
you're like, in a weird turn of events, I actually do really like him.
Yeah, he kind of just grows on you. I
He
don't know that
does.
she feels the same. Maybe towards
No.
the end, but definitely not in the beginning. But he's a
I don't
cheeky
think
chap,
he's
so I just, you know.
he is. He's like a salty little like uncle. I don't know. And I love there's so much I love about him, but we'll get more into it. But I love that you highlight the progression of their relationship. And you can even see in the course of the book how much or little he's speaking, or his opinions kind of get louder and louder. But as a kid, obviously she's very afraid of this. And so she does not she tries to be like, "Hey yo, shut up." Um Nightmare doesn't always listen, but she tries. And the thing about the nightmare and Elspeth's approach to the nightmare is she hears this voice in her head, but literally no one knows about it. Not her aunt, not her uncle, not her cousins. No one except her knows about it. And she tries so hard to walk around and act normal and pretend like it's not happening. Um, and people still sense that something's off. And even in the book, it talks about like animals don't like her. People, as hard as she tries to like put up a normal front, it never totally comes together. There's always something unsettling about her. So we're finding Elspeth kind of making herself scarce, really isolating herself from people because she knows that she's trying to blend in, and with the degeneration, it's only a matter of time before it overtakes her. So, despite this, Ione and her aunt and uncle sometimes convince her to leave the house. So Elspeth and Ione go to Elspeth's dad's house, Eric, on Elspeth's name day, which is fantasy speak for birthday. I always feel like there's some like classic, and it's always name day. Um, and Eric lives in a house with Nerium, who's Elspeth's stepmom, Dimia and Naya, who are her twin stepsisters. Um, and it's important to note that Eric and Elspeth have a really strained relationship. Uh, Obviously, ever since he dumped his daughter off at somebody's doorstep. And I think it wasn't helped by the fact that Eric was already struggling with Elspeth's mom's death. Um her mother, Elspeth's mother, was named Iris, and Iris is Opal's sister. Or is her name Opal?
Yes.
Yes, Opal. I was like, am I getting that right? Um so in a tale as old as time, Nerium the stepmom is a huge asshole, and takes any opportunity to like give little jabs and such. And there's this big equinox celebration coming up. Nerium's basically like, you should not go to that because you're dusty crusty. That's exactly what she said, by the way. Quotes. You could put quotes around that. You're dusty crusty. And this really upsets Elspeth, and she leaves her name day celebration early. and then does a thing that, again, every fantasy reader is like, oh, why are you doing that? She walks through the woods at night by herself. We could see where that's heading. On the way back to her cottage in the woods, she's set upon by highwaymen. And she tries to get away from them. She gives them a fake name. She tries to talk her way out of having to deal with them, but they're having none of that. And so what she can do, what a sort of second cool power that she can call upon the nightmare and be like, yo, nightmare, I can't handle this situation. I need you to get out here and handle it. And when he takes over, she's stronger, she's faster, and he absolutely can kick ass on her behalf. So 1 second, these highwaymen are like contending with like a little reedy girl who's like, help. And then next minute, they're contending with like the Hulk. And she does Hulk out on them, and she pushes them away. And runs back to her house. It's also worth noting that one of these highwaymen smells like cedar smoke and cloves. It's always I feel like it's like cedar smoke and cloves and
Oh, it's
wet
always cedar,
dreams. Yeah, it's
cedar
like
something.
it's like tobacco and
Fresh
pine needle.
rain.
Summer skies and
Yeah,
I
just bottle it up.
yeah. If you start
But
describing, oh, go ahead.
I'm also like, okay, in a town called Blunder, where
Mm,
there's this invasive mist and these
mm.
grubby little highwaymen come out at night. I'm like,
Uh-huh.
no, you probably smell like urine and like moldy water. I don't know. Like, I don't think, I don't imagine.
They probably smell like piss and shit and vomit.
I'm just really impressed that they have all these different colognes, you know? It's not what I imagine.
That he managed to do a little schwitz, a little of
Yeah,
the
and that's that romantasy. Like,
you
we're really just
know.
gonna zhuzh them up.
Oh yeah. He
Yeah,
put on his Axe body spray before he head out the door with his cloak. And that's how we know
as
this
one
isn't
does.
real life.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
not even like he smelled like cloves and sweat. You know what I mean? Like that would make sense if you smelled like sweat. You're in a wood running
yeah,
around trying to hassle a lady. You're gonna smell like
yeah.
something. I don't know. But
Which I
he's
think it's also worth noting that these
mm,
highwaymen are known to be problematic around Blunder
oh yeah,
and oftentimes are trying to like steal Providence cards because people tried to like take them from others and were trying to collect the deck, but also people, you know, have their own intentions and want that magic for themselves. So
they
these
do.
these rascals out here are known to be problematic and Elspeth was like, I'm safe, it's fine.
She did the toss too. She did her hair toss. She was
Yeah,
like, "Listen, but I'm Elspeth and I will be fine." She's an independent woman except when she's not, you know?
yeah. And the
And
nightmare was like, this girl.
Nightmare was like, "Stand back, baby. Like enough of you." Uh
Yeah,
so he does. He helps her out. Um and she gets back to the house and she's frightened and smelling of ginger and snowflakes and dreams. Not really. That was I made that one up. But after this whole incident, Elspeth, her aunt, her uncle, cousins, her dad, and her stepsisters and stepmom are all going to attend ultimately this equinox. Despite the fact that she initially was like, no, her stepmom Miriam was like, don't do it. Her dad's like, please will you go? Like, can we have some father-daughter bonding time? To which I want to be like, you could have had so much of that, but you didn't.
yeah.
There's
But
lots of
that's
time for that.
okay.
Yeah,
She'll just live out in the woods.
sure.
It's giving very like the whole Miriam dynamic is giving
Mm.
very like Cinderella, like evil
Oh.
stepmother, these dodo brain twin stepsisters. I
They're
just
like
like
getting drunk at
always,
parties. Yeah.
yeah, in my head they look like the stepsisters from like the original Cinderella cartoon. Like anytime they pop in, like that's how I envision them with their like green and pink dresses.
1,000,000%. And those like ridiculous like bouncy booty dresses
Yeah.
where it's like they just can't move around like normal
A
people.
bunch
They
of
have to like
useless. Yeah.
two brain cells between them. That's what is being given here. This is the vibe we're going with. But despite all this, Elspeth's like, fine, I will go to Equinox. We're gonna feast to King Rowan, la di da. And so they roll up to the castle, and Elspeth figures out that her uncle Tarn is going to trade his nightmare card, which he still has. 11 years ago, she touched the card, stayed away from the card, but she knows that her uncle has it. And she's the only one that knows he has it. She never tells anyone. But she knows that he's going to trade his nightmare card so that his daughter Ione can be married to Hoth Rowan, who is the boo, boo, hiss, boo. Hoth Rowan is Big Brute. He's Big Brute. He's violent. He's tries to
The
be
worst.
sneaky. He's the worst. He's violent. He's bigoted. He's a tyrant.
He definitely smells like urine.
Oh my god, he smells like crusty booty. Like he just you
No
know
cloves and cedar here.
no. You know he's one of those guys that would be like, yeah, I just sort of like let the water run over my body and like take care of it. Like he does not wash his booty one bit. He stinks.
Mm-mm.
She doesn't comment on his smell, but we know. Um And so Elspeth is really horrified by this because it's her cousin and her best friend, and she doesn't want her best friend to be traded like cattle for a card, and to be brought into the fold in this way. And she goes to Ione and is like, "Hey, don't do this. This is a bad idea." And they get into an argument about it. Ione's not going to hear it. And so Elspeth's like, you know what? Forget it. I'm staying with my dad. And so she goes to her dad Eric's suite of rooms to stay for Equinox, and Ione's gonna go through with this.
Yeah. Which is a horrible decision, and Elspeth is actually quite intelligent. And it also helps that the
Mm.
nightmare is in her brain, making all of his cheeky little comments the whole time. And he also quite literally hisses whenever Hoff's name gets brought up. So I think she also had a hint that maybe he was no good.
Yeah,
But then also I think she just read the vibe as well, and no one likes him, and he
no one likes
smells
him.
like all of these horrible things. Which
Yeah,
again is
yeah,
just
yeah.
my intuition. No one said this to me.
Listen,
I
we can.
also love
Yeah.
as Equinox is happening, there's this man who's trying to court Elspeth, and
Yeah.
poor Alex, he tries his best.
Oh
Um,
man.
and Elspeth is like, I don't want to see him. I'd
She
rather
like
not.
Yeah,
He's
she made out
nice,
with
but
him once. Yeah, she
yeah,
kissed him
like get
one
over
time
it.
3 years ago.
And the nightmare
Alex.
is also so grossed out by him and is just cannot be bothered. Like biggest eye roll moment. And he makes
Yeah.
these little comments to her as she's just trying to like get through this atrocious party. And he's like, ugh, bother.
He's like, this sucks. And she's
Yeah.
like, can you be helpful for one fucking second?
Yeah. She's
Yeah.
like, no shit.
I also like, it's like anytime there's romantic entanglements, he's like, this is so boring. Do
Yeah.
something
Like
more
throw up.
exciting.
Get on with it.
Come on. And she's like,
There's
pardon
actual
me.
problems happening.
He's like, why is no one stabbing anyone? What are we doing? Yeah, poor Alex. I pictured Lottie in Princess and the Frog when she's like,
Yes.
Travis, when a woman says later, she means never. Like he needs a good Lottie type speech that's like, Alex, I need you to get some hints right now. I'm trying to be
Well,
nice.
someone does kind of shoo him away.
Oh, interesting that somebody who smells of cloves and cedar. Mayhaps we'll find out what happens later on with a certain someone. But Elspeth attends this big feast dinner. She's like shoo-shooing Alex, who's like, but what about me? And she's like, no. And she meets and sits down next to Emery Yu, who is nephew of the king. The Yus and the Rowans those are two very powerful lines, and we'll hear a lot about like how their bloodlines interact. But it's important to know from the very get that the Nightmare does not like Rowans. Like any Rowan person, he's like, absolutely not. It doesn't even matter if it's just the king. It's like every Rowan, he's like, they're bitches. They suck. And she's like, okay, thank you for the input. I really appreciate that. And Emery's like, hey, do you want a drink? And Elspeth is like, yeah, sure. I don't see why not. And then she doesn't feel so good. And so Emery's like, here, let me escort you out. And again, anyone who's read a fantasy book, you know this is not. You don't take the goblet from the random dude and then
It's
get
gonna go one
escorted.
of two ways. You're
Uh-huh.
either going to fall in love and have wild, passionate sex,
Yes.
or he's going to try to kill you. And I don't
Uh
think there's a lot of options in the middle.
and it's 50-50, so you're not playing with good odds. But once he escorts her out, he starts acting really weird. He starts saying shit. He starts getting grabby of her arm. And it looks like things are about to be bad, but then a breeze of clove and cedar blusters into her face. And the captain of the Destriers, Raven Yu, who is Emery's brother, tosses him down the stairs, and she is saved from the attentions of Emery. And it's important to know that in A Tale as Old as Time, he's hot. He's very, very hot. He's tall and he's hot and he has gray eyes and copper skin and dark hair. I think Elspeth uses the words unmistakably handsome. And he smells good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like his Axe body spray.
like whatever flavor of Axe of the day.
Yeah, this moment in the book with this whole Emery interaction, I feel like is really what kicked it off for me. I was like, this is juicy. Something's happening. The magic is flowing. Emery's a weirdo. What's up with that? Like, it was where it really started to pick up some momentum. And then, of
Uh-huh.
course, Raven's there. And I'm like, oh, hello, sir.
Hey.
Just casually saving the day, as always.
My God.
But yeah, I knew this was it. This is where things were starting.
You locked in. You locked in at
I
this
did,
point.
locked in hard, because I was like,
Okay.
what are you up to, Emery?
What you doing? That's
And then we
yeah.
find out.
And then we found a whole lot about him, about everybody. So this weird moment happens, and Elspeth's like, I've had a long fucking day, and I'm going to bed. But the following day, I don't remember if it's the following day or I think it might have been the following day. Elspeth goes to a garden party to walk around while the men go hunt or whatever they're doing. There's some people are off doing something else, and they're like, ladies, why don't you take a turn about the garden? And she's like, that's a woman,
As
of
one
course.
does.
Yeah, I promenade in my finery. And so she gets in her finery and she starts promenading. And she sees Ione, and at first she's like, I'm like frustrated, but I like want to fix things with her, but I like wants to go up to her. But she sees that Ione has the maiden card. And
I think there's something that maybe we did not say yet. Part of Elspeth's powers is she can see.
How?
I
Oh
know.
my
So
God.
the reason that she knows Ione has a maiden card is because to Elspeth and Elspeth alone, it glows pink.
Yeah.
So all of these cards have a hue to them, a glowing light that Elspeth can see, and that is her power that she got from touching her degeneration power from the
Mm-hmm.
fever. That's part of this, and so that's also why
Yes.
like she knows that her uncle still has the nightmare card because I believe that one's purple
Or
from what
I
I
think it's
remember.
burgundy. burgundy is the purple one is the
Oh yes, the mirror card is purple.
mirror is purple, yeah.
But yes, so they all have these different colors and she can see them. So she knows when
Girl,
someone physically has the Providence card on them.
thank you
And
for bringing
Ione
this
has a
to the
maiden.
table, because so many things would cease to make sense if we did not have this fact in place.
Yeah.
Um,
And glowing so much so that she falls into a bush because she's blinded by the glow.
the glow smacks her in the face and she's like, ah, and then she like trips over her skirts.
Yes, in the
Yeah.
garden.
in the as she's promenading in the garden.
Yes,
Yeah. Thank you so much for bringing that up. I can't believe I missed that in my lore list.
that's okay.
Yes,
We
you
circled
could.
back.
We could circle back. The Providence cards are glowing, and I think what's important to know is she can see them like through clothes, through like it doesn't matter. It doesn't, the glow doesn't stop if it's in someone's clothing. She can spot it through materials because it's glowing so brightly. So she spots that Ione has the maiden card. And based on that fact, she knows that Ione has met with Hoth Rowan, that some of the machinations of her uncle are coming to fruition. And Elspeth is really scared of what Hoth and the card are going to do to Ione. The thing about the maiden card, it makes you absolutely gorgeous. But it also makes you really cold-hearted. It takes all the warmth out of Ione, which is one of the things that Elspeth loves about her so much. So Elspeth tries to warn her, and Ione will not hear of it one bit. And Elspeth gets really mad, and she's like, I'm leaving. And she goes off into the mist a little bit. She's like, let me have a cheeky little cry in the mist. And who should she run into but Raven you? And he kind of cuts to the chase. He's like, yo, so what were you doing on the road the other night? And despite the fact that you and I have been tracking his scent like a couple of hound dogs, she has not. So it clicks in for her for the first time that he's the highwayman. She's like, oh my God. And so he's the highwayman, but also he's got the second nightmare card. He's the one wielding the other nightmare card. So he gives it a little tap, tap, tap. He speaks into her mind, and she hates it because who else is in her mind but the nightmare? She's terrified of the thought that somebody will figure out that the nightmare is in her head. So, Raven and Elspeth have a little back and forth, and Raven is like, girl, come with me for a second. She's like, what do you mean? And he's like, just come with me for a second. So he takes Elspeth to a room under the castle. And you get the feeling like it's this like secret meeting room. I think it's like on the east side away from the garden, and it's all very clandestine. And she meets Jesper Yu, who's Raven's sister, a physician named Philic, and Renelm Rowan, who we just call Elm. And Elm is Hoth Rowan's brother. So brother to the High Prince, but friend of Raven. And there's a little bit of a back and forth, but she reveals that she can see Providence cards even if they're hidden. And she keeps very much a secret the nightmare in her mind. She maintains that secret for a long time in this book. But she agrees to help Raven find the Providence cards if he agrees to keep away from her family, to not give away her infected status, and to promise that he'll never use the nightmare card on her again. The reason she's doing this, and the nightmare speaks into her mind at this point, and says, make yourself useful to him. Don't let him walk away with this power over you. So she's like, listen, I will help you on whatever thing you're trying to do, but don't blow up my spot. And I can respect that. I respect the hustle. And I quite like his like little group of friends. Like, I love the dynamic between like Jesper, Elm, all these people who are just like, I don't know. It added a nice level of like humor and back and forth, I feel like, to the story.
Jesper ends up being like one of my favorite characters because I feel like
Mm,
she's also very like cheeky and is just like a girl's girl, but she's also out here being like, you can't tell me what to do because I'm a badass.
hmm
I do all of the things that you tough boys do.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, Elm also really grows on me, but at this point in the book, I'm like, you're kind of a douche.
He has a very frat boy douche mentality at this. I mean, he maintains it a bit, but like you kind of grow it like you get to know more about him and you kind of figure out his thing. So it gets more endearing and cute and less like, bro, what?
It takes
Um
some time.
yeah, it does. But he's got trauma and so it impacts his presentation when you first meet him.
Fair, we'll give him that.
All right, fine, Elm. I also, it's important to highlight that when we talk about Jesper being a badass, she is the only female destrier. She is true, like she knows how to fight. She'll kill you. She'll fuck you up if you're not careful. So she's an independent woman and she's out here. So there's a lot of feasting in this book. They just have big dinners and feasts. So there's another one. They go to another feast and Hoth Rowan gets up in front of everyone and he's like, in a show, he's like, I am going to marry Ione. And Elspeth can still see the maiden card on her. In exchange for this nightmare card. And everybody's like, oh my God. And they start clapping and Elspeth is horrified. And in this process, what she realizes is that Raven hasn't told the king about the nightmare card that he has because Hoth and the king talk about it like it's the first nightmare card they've gotten their hands on. So Elspeth is like, she's calculating, she's putting two and two together. She's saying, something's not adding up here. You should already be talking about this nightmare card, and you're not.
And I don't know if we already touched on this a little bit. I think we've
Mm,
hinted at it, but also the reason that this marriage trade happened is because the Rowan kings keep preaching to all of the people of Blunder that like we're going to unite the Providence Cards and lift the mist and save the day. And so they're on like this never-ending mission to find the 12 Providence cards they need that like the riddle presents of like once you unite all 12 you can do the thing and lift the mist, and so that's what they're trying to do. And so Ione gets bargained for
mm.
this nightmare card.
Mhm. The thing that I appreciated, I was gonna say liked, but I don't like it as in like, I'm happy about this. I like that the lore of like the old book gets morphed by the Rowan lineage into something violent. And they talk about this where it's like the original intentions of the Shepherd King and the book and everything are twisted until the Rowan Kings use it for violence and control over people who have this like infected magic. And so I thought that was very much a realistic look about how propaganda over time can like shift people's understanding of the world and reality just by the right messaging. And I think that's what that maneuver is. The Hoth and King Rowan are trying to promote a message that they are what's good for Blunder when anybody who is infected or anybody who's seen the infected be tortured and killed would tell you that it's a violent society. It's not based in unity. So I anytime there's like that, like it almost feels like political trickery where they're like showing off the nightmare card and showing off Ione. Yeah, I thought that was a cool element to this.
Yeah, and like
Um,
you said, as they're doing it, Elspeth is like, why is your nightmare card a secret? Aren't you supposed to be one of his soldiers? Like what is
aren't
that about?
you aren't you captain? Aren't you captain of the
Mm,
Destriers? Isn't that what you do?
it's just not
It's not, something's not adding up here. Excuse me, something's not adding up, is what she says in her mind. And she goes to Raven and she's like, yo, you need to tell me everything. I'm done being in the dark about this. By the way, this guy she met like a few days ago. Like, she's like, you need to let me in on the secrets. And Raven, in a show of like surprising willingness to like get on board, is like, okay, sure, but you need to submit yourself to questioning by my counsel, which includes Jesper, Elm, Philic, who is a physician who's in his little like cadre, which I want to highlight is kind of surprising because physicians are often the ones who are identifying who's infected and who are causing people to be tortured. So Philic is sort of a turncoat in that way. Like, he's working for Raven, even though his title you would expect him to act in a very different way. And I think that's true of most of this group. Like the son of the king, two of his destriers, and a physician are all working against this king very much in secret. So Elspeth has her secrets, but so don't all of them. And so it includes all of those people and Raven's mother and father, Fenir and Moret Yu. So he brings them, or brings Elspeth down sort of to a secret chamber to them.
Interrogation room.
Oh yes, yeah. There's like, it's like in a bomb shelter, and there's like a lamp swinging over top. No, that's not how
Yes.
it is. Think a little bit more like the Masons or some, like the Knights of the Round Table. That's what I pictured. Like we're all in like hewn chairs, and it's torchy. That's the vibe I got. And so she goes down there and they're like, we're going to question you to make sure that your intentions are good and that you're not going to rat us out. And she's presented with 3 options for cards that are going to be used on her to make sure that she's telling the truth. And it's the Nightmare, the Scythe, and then the Chalice, I think, which is the one that you drink it and it makes you tell the truth or else you're poisoned. So she's sitting there going, wow, none of these options are optimal. But she ultimately goes with the Scythe card, which compels people's emotions. It's not that it makes you tell the truth, but it makes you want to tell the truth. It manipulates your emotions until you're like, huh, I think I should tell them all my secrets right now. And through the use of that card, and what's interesting is that Elm is the one who wields that card, but the consequences of that card are excruciating pain. And it's like, he says it feels like knives in his brain later on in the book. So he wields this Scythe card, and Elspeth reveals several elements of her history, including the fact that she is infected, which, you know, was known to some but not all in that room. And she confirms that she can see Providence cards like a beacon, even if they're hidden. They try to dig deeper, but she does not want to give away the nightmare thing. And so she calls on the nightmare and she's like, please help me out. Please help me out. And he does. And he's like, I'm going to help you not feel the effects of this Scythe card. And so she keeps her secret. What's important to track, I think, as we go through this plot is as she starts calling on him more and more, that starts to mark a shift in her. The more she calls on the nightmare, the more she hears his voice, the more his influence comes up. So mark, you can kind of mark across time all these moments where she spent all these years not calling on him at all. And now she's starting to have to do, or she feels like she has to do so more and more as time goes on. Not only does Elspeth reveal information about her, but this crew, this secret council, also reveals some things about themselves. They are looking to do to do work that is very similar or the same to what the king is trying to do, but just to different ends. They're trying to get to the same thing, but to use it differently. And they're looking for every type of Providence card so that they can push past or push back the mist. They want it, according to the old book, if you can get all the cards, you can cure the mist, you can cure the infection, which includes, interestingly, Emery, Raven's brother. This is important for us to learn because it turns Emery from handsy, creepy
Weirdo.
creepy groper to a guy who's degenerating and does not have all of his faculties and is doing his best, but gets himself into trouble because he's not doing well mentally. In order to make all this happen, they need the cards, the mist, and the blood of an infected person. And the king, who is as I said, doing, this has the same quest, wants to use Emery's blood, wants to sacrifice Emery to fix all of this. And the crew wants to sacrifice arguably the better option, Orith Willow, who is a physician and who is responsible for the murders of many infected people. So they're like, Emery, he's a little bit wild. He does get a little handsy sometimes, but he's doing his best. Orith works for the king and Hoth, murders people. Gross.
So we'll use his blood.
So, why not? Why not?
Yeah, our goofy little brother or like this murderer,
our goofy little drunk brother or a psychopath. I think it's clear which one should die, personally. But that's just me. We do find out in a striking example of hypocrisy that Orith is also infected. Oh my god. You're murdering your own fucking people. Makes it so much worse.
It does, but of course the king wants to keep him around because his magic from the infection allows him to tell through other people's blood if they're infected too. So he wears this horrible hook, scratch, claw device to test people's blood whenever he feels fit to do so. Yeah. And so, we kill everyone else that's infected because their powers aren't cool for us, but we'll keep him around because it lets us kill more people. So
what's the issue? Like we just keep who we want to keep, and we keep the secrets of the powerful and the rich, and then we disadvantage everyone else.
Very kingly of him.
There's a lot of precedent. He's
giving king.
It's giving monarch, it's giving oligarch, it's giving tyranny, all the things. Also, please tell me why, when they describe the little hook thing that Orith uses to test people's blood, have you ever seen those videos? It's on like on TikTok or Instagram, where people go to massage people to like have their hairs like played with, but they have those fake nails that they put on. Have you ever seen that?
I have seen those, yes.
I immediately pictured that, and it made him ridiculous in my mind. It's not like that. His is like much sharper and more violent, but I pictured like these little jade and like gold fingernails that were like little ASMR.
I love that.
Yeah. It's not true. He's a violent and horrible person, but it made it a little funny in my head. So or it's a bad guy. And ultimately they're sharing secrets. They're deciding who to trust. And they ultimately, like, she goes out of the room so they can have a little chitty chat. And then I loved this part because she was like, I wonder what they're saying in there. And Nightmare was like, you could just go put your ear on the fucking door if you wanted to.
He's like, or you could just listen.
He's like, there is a method we have for that. And she's like, what? He's like, put your ear on the fucking door. And so she does. And she listens as they, talk about the fact that they're going to accept her help and kind of bring her into the fold. And as they're scheming, they're like, okay, she has to come back to the U manor in order to work on finding the cards. And what is going to be the reason that she's at the U manor? And everyone's like, I don't know. We could pretend this or that. Everyone's like, none of those reasons are good. The
And Jesper's
only
like, so you're not gonna like this.
Jesper's like, so I do have an idea, and you're gonna be mad. But the only viable option, obviously, is that Raven is going to pretend to be courting her in order to bring her back to the U manor. And my little romantasy and fantasy reader heart was like, as soon as it's forced proximity, as soon as we're faking an engagement or a courtship, we're in there. We are in there.
It's happening. It's happening.
Oh, you all have problems with each other? What if we just forced you into a fake engagement? That solves all of life's problems.
Yeah, you met her 3 days ago.
Oh,
You know what you should do? Get married.
You know, you should do bring her back to your house, introduce her to your whole family.
Yeah, tell her all your secrets.
Mm-hmm. Put her
Yeah.
life in your hands. She'll put her life in your hands. It's all very. I think personally we should go back to that. There's too much low stakes dating happening these days.
Yeah. Up the ante.
Let's go. Are you gonna marry me or not? Day 3. What are we doing?
Yeah.
That's all I have to say.
Here we are. And nobody's happy about it except me as I ferociously flip the pages.
So Raven's like, no, we can't do that for his own reasons, and they have a misunderstanding about what those reasons are that get all revealed later. But Raven's like, I don't know, and Elspeth's listening at the door, and she's like, bitch, are you not into me after day 3? But they all ultimately agree. Elspeth does get caught eavesdropping, but they're all like, yeah, this is the only way. And they're like, okay, we have to sort of like traipse around the castle for a little bit to show people that we're courting, and then we can head off to U Manor. So they all go to the U house, and they are trying to find a few of the last cards, because fun fact, they have already found many of the Providence cards that they need in order to fulfill this sort of old book prophecy. The last ones they need are the Iron Gate, the Well, and the Twin Alders, which, as we discussed, the Twin Alders are supposedly impossible to find. So for now, they're like, we'll focus on the low-hanging fruit. And so they start by trying to find the Iron Gate card. And they know that a guy named Wayland Pine has it. And I loved this because they were like, we're going to invite Mrs. Pine and her 2 chatty Cathy daughters over here for tea, and we're just going to let them yap until they give us the answers. And Mrs. Pine, she keeps it close-lipped, but her daughters do not. Her daughters are like, blah, 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 our whole life. And Elspeth, as soon as she hears that, I picture like, and she's like talking to one of the daughters. The daughter says it. She like turns around and like gives them a thumbs up. And they're like, Thundercats go for the Iron Gate card.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, she's only been there a couple days, and she's already done more work than all of them combined. So that's fine.
Like, excuse the shit out of me for helping you all out.
Yeah, I did that.
By the way, y'all were stuck as fuck before I came in here and fixed everything. So congratulations.
Also, I'll use my X-ray vision and tell you when it's coming.
Pew, pew, pew. I'm here. I've got us. And so, although I think the one funny part of this is like she has it in so many ways. She cannot fight or ride a horse to save her life. Like, she is such a limp noodle when it comes to riding horses and fighting. But we still love her, you know. She's holed up in that cottage. Yeah, like she didn't learn fighting skills in that cottage all those years.
She didn't.
and that's okay. We still love her. So they get saddled up, and she's riding her horse with Elm because the horse doesn't like her, and the nightmare scares the horse too. The nightmare's like hiss, click, 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 and the horse is like, nay,
I know.
I
I
hate
was like, of
this.
all the times for you to act up, like we're all united in our goal
Uh-huh.
here. You're
Uh-huh.
kind of on the same page with us in all your little commentary.
Uh-huh.
What was the purpose? We're just being a dick? All right. All right.
Why did we do that?
Her
Unsure.
life's
Unsure.
hard enough as it is, okay?
He acts up. He's such a little brat sometimes.
Yeah. So
So
off with Elm she goes.
off with Elm she goes, and Elm's like, bitch, you're squeezing me really tight. It's like a corset over here. He literally says that. And she's like, you know what? I don't know how to ride horses, okay? Don't judge me. But they get there. They're all dressed up like highwaymen. She has to don pants, which are so scandalous. And Raven looks
And
at
they
her legs.
look at her.
They look at her legs in the pants.
And I think I don't remember exactly what he said, but the nightmare was like, "Get over it."
He was like, their legs, oh my god. Like, it wasn't this point, but there was a point where the nightmare was like, literally what you look like does not matter and never has mattered. Like, get over yourself. I'm like, nightmare, delivering truth, but like, do you have to be such a
Could you
salty?
be gentle?
Yeah, could you like be nice to me for a second? It's either riddles or she's being like red. She's being just torn apart head to toe, or it's like riddles. He's like, follow the cards and the cards will lead you, and she's like, I just need you to tell me something straightforwardly and not meanly. Could we do that? He doesn't play those games.
Yeah.
So they get dressed up in their highwayman pants, and her whole job is just to figure out where the card is on site. She just needs to like go to Raven, there it is, and then like hide behind a bush or something. And so
Because they're gonna intercept them on the road coming back from yet another feast of some sort.
oh, they're feasting. they're driving from one feast to another feast, and they're just going to catch him on the road. So as Wayland rolls up, things get a little complicated because there's way more people that are with Wayland than they expected. Hoth is with them. Elspeth's dad, Eric, is with them. Like the whole fucking army is with Wayland. And so there's sort of a scuffle happening. She goes to Raven. She's like, there's the card. Raven's like, run away, hide. And so several things happen, but most importantly, I think, one, Jesper also almost gets taken by the forest. She's like, and it's interesting because you see for the first time how the forest takes people, really. Like you hear that people disappear, but you kind of don't know what happens to them. And she's like being absorbed by this tree, and she's like, the forest has me now, don't worry. And Elspeth's like, bitch, no, that's not how this works.
And the whole reason that this happened, we haven't talked about this.
Yes.
People can save themselves from this hungry mist by carrying around
from this
by
thirsty...
carrying around charms.
But not cute charms. Talk about the charms.
No, like a viper head, a tail of a rabbit, like all of these like quite grotesque items to pocket carry.
The haunch of a shrew,
a feather, who knows. But Jesper, in her fierce battle, dropped her charm that keeps the mist at bay.
Yeah.
And so because of that, the mist was like, oh, come here, girly. And then she went quite literally sprinting into the mist and was like, just take me.
She like flopped into the mist. She was like, okay. And Elspeth's like, bitch, what are you doing? What is happening?
Yes. And people who are already infected do not have issues with the mist. So Elspeth was like, I guess I'm gonna come help you.
Elspeth, totally unaffected, which I thought this was really interesting because she thought she needed a charm at the start of the book, and then Raven, right before this event, unhelpful, was like, by the way, you don't need that charm anymore. You're like not going to be impacted by it. And
So
she
she's like, toss, toss.
yeah, she takes a slingshot and just slings it somewhere. No, she like leaves it on her bed or something.
It's
And
almost like that could have been used. No, it was when she put her pants on.
oh, that's
The
right. She
damn
puts
pants.
fucking pants. If we just had left our billowing skirts on, this would have never been a problem. Ugh.
But here we are getting
But here
absorbed
we
by
are.
trees.
But
So
here we are.
in
Yeah.
her attempt to save Jesper,
Mm.
things get rowdy.
Things get really fucking rowdy. She literally runs into her dad and hits her dad over the head with a rock, which is like, wow. She asks the nightmare to come out, and who should hunt her down but Hoth Rowan? And he comes after her, and she's like, Nightmare, I need you to take care of this right now. So Nightmare gets the claws out and slashes Hoth Rowan down the neck like the beast that he is. And in return, Hoth Rowan does break Elspeth's wrist. He
Like a real
causes some.
bitch.
No, honestly, like what a dick move. What a dick move. Like, yes, I slashed you across the face, but like, fuck off. Fuck off with this. So Eric got hit with a rock. Hoth has got marks down his neck. But ultimately, they get the card and they escape. It's not without struggle. It's not without problems, but they, at the end of the day, they did their job. And so they kind of limp home. There's a very cute moment where like Raven wraps her wrist, and it's like they're close together, because you know when you're wounded in battle you have to stand like chest to chest almost in order to fix a wrist. You can't put your arm out at a distance to have someone fix your wrist. You've got to like be sharing breath when you do that.
Yeah, obviously. And she gets the fanny flutters and all of the things.
The fanny flutters. I love that. I'm writing that one down.
Which she calls the ache. She's like, I got an ache.
I got an ache. My favorite in fantasy books is, or romantasy books, is when it's like, there was an ache in my stomach. No, lower. And you know where lower is, but they never describe where lower is. Like,
Yeah.
they're just like, lower somewhere on your torso, but lower. And we're all like, okay, sounds good, girl.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Anatomy was not her strong suit.
She didn't know how to say, I'm having vagina feelings. And
Yeah.
I was going to pick so many other words, and then I really scaled it back because class and decorum, and that's why. So they hobble off back to the U Manor, and the next day, who should roll up but Ione and Hoth and a bunch of destriers. And rightfully so, Elspeth hates destriers, hates Hoth, and is on the outs with Ione and is like really worried about her. Ione has been changing, and it starts to become really clear in this interaction. And Hoth and everyone else are talking about that they were set upon by highwaymen and how bad it was. And Hoth like shows off his scratches, and he's like, some big man scratched me before he ran away. Meanwhile, Elspeth is like, it was me, bitch. And Ione obviously has been using the maiden card a lot because she's quite a bit colder and an asshole. She is not kind, and very little of her warmth or many of the things that Elspeth really loved about her are gone, if not muted. However, Ione starts to put two and two together. She's looking at the wrist. She's hearing about Hoth is like, I broke some dude's wrist.
And she's like, or her.
She's like, could be a her, though. Could have been bested by a lady. And Elspeth is like putting her wrist behind her back quietly. She's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And Raven and Hoth start sparring because the whole reason they're there is to do training. And I love
Since these
some
destriers
good.
can't even fend off some highwaymen.
Can't even these random untrained highwaymen that set upon them can't even handle those motherfuckers. And so Raven pulls a move which I really like, which is revenge violence. You hurt my woman, I might break your hand. So he yeah, just really quick. He just curb stomps Hoth's hand during training because he's like, not in my house, not
And
my woman.
Ian's over there like
she's like, sucks to suck.
And I just love the vibe because it kind of is similar to like the Nightmare's cheekiness, where I know she's like losing her sweet, tender heart, but she's also turning into quite the comic and clearly hates Hoth.
Oh.
And so she sees this happen and she was like, oh, are you okay? You'll be fine.
Babe, are you okay? Okay. Yeah, no, she doesn't give a fuck about Hoth. And she says toward the end of the book that what she cares about is power. So let's be clear, she has no warm feelings toward Hoth. And we learn through that interaction that Hoth really hates Raven for being infected and being the captain of the Destroyers. He knows Raven's infected, which I'm not sure. I'm not sure if we even went over that, but surprise, Raven's infected. And we know that, well, we know that because he tells us that, but his power is that he can negate the power of the cards. But he also can't use many of the cards. The only cards he can use really now are the Nightmare, the Mirror, I think it was, and the Twin Alders, again, if they could ever find it. And so they have their spar. There's a lot of back and forth. And we also learn that Elm, because throughout this book, Elm is really he's really what's the word? Like, he has allegiance to the U's, even though he's a Rowan. But what we find out is that King Rowan used to beat and torture Elm as a child. And so there's sort of this deep trauma that Elm has gone through that has caused him to align with the U's. So, after all this hullabaloo with the handbraking and Ione and everyone else, Raven shows Elspeth a tomb where he hides all of the Providence cards that he has. And in order to open the stone that holds these cards, he has to spill his blood to make the cards come out. And he shows Elspeth how to do it. He says it has to be someone with infected blood that opens this stone. And in reaction to this tombside, stoneside revelation, they kiss. They share a fiery, saucy little kiss. Don't worry, it doesn't go any further than that. If you're thinking, oh my God, does it get scandalous? Does he maybe like bend her over the stone or something? No. Mm-mm.
Of course not.
No, it's a kiss. It's a.
It would almost be like all this tension build up. We
Uh-huh.
finally had a nice moment.
Yeah. However, who should show up? Do you want to tell him who shows up? You want to give us that little detail?
This is quite a moment because you know they're on their way to this ruined shack where the stone exists, and the Nightmare pops up out of nowhere, and he's like, go in there, and she's like, chill, dude, I don't like it, and he's like, no, get in. Get in, and they have to like climb through a window because of course it's like ruins.
Yeah.
So you can't just walk in.
No, because there's no doors. There's only familiar. A window. Yeah. Oh, yes, it does look familiar.
Yeah, and the Nightmare's like, no shit. And so, you know, they're heavy making out, and then her eyes trail off.
He's kissing her neck, I think. Yeah, he's like,
obviously. Yeah. And she's wide-eyed, apparently.
She's got her eyes wide open. They're kissing. Yeah. She's staring.
Yeah. And there's just a man atop
Uh-huh.
the stone, and he's like, "Bitch, let me out." And she, "Ah."
Oh my good heavens. She startles
It
because she
ruffles her
sees
skirts.
her billowing skirts go tussle tussle, and of course she freaks out and like jumps away from Raven because there's a dude sitting there watching them saying, "Let me out." um and Raven, rightfully so, is like, "What the hell is going on?" And Elspeth is like, "Nothing." And I don't even know if she says nothing. She just runs. She runs away from him. And he's all like tousled, like his hair is all crazy. And he's like, "I thought we were like doing a good makeout thing." And she just runs. She runs off. And she goes back to her room, and she realizes, um, because she's been having some dreams, there's been some vision stuff, that the nightmare, the one in her head, is the Shepherd King. Fireworks go off, brain explosions. There's even a tapestry in her room that has a picture of the Shepherd King on it. And she looks at it and she's like,
You ass.
"You motherfucker."
Yeah,
And
I feel like she was not so thrilled
no,
that
no,
this
no.
information had not been shared prior.
She was upset, as would I be.
And of course, he's doing his Rumpelstiltskin riddles this whole time of like, the Shepherd King had to give up his soul for the nightmare card to be created. You touched the nightmare card, something was absorbed within you. Could it possibly be my soul?
could it have been? I will say, so the first time I read this book, I did figure it out before she figured it out, but I'm gonna
And I
say,
think I could be wrong, but I think maybe you're supposed to. Like,
I
I
think
do
we
feel
are
like,
supposed to know.
yes, and she's just this helpless young girl.
She's got a lot going on. She's got
She's
another
been
voice in
living
her
in the
head.
woods.
Into the woods. She's just been living out in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. No, I remember tracking it ahead of time and being like, I almost thought like, is he really the Shepherd King? Like, is it, that feels obvious, but like, is it him?
Yes.
I doubted it
I
because it
think
felt
once
obvious to
she
me.
gets to like the used castle, that's a
Mm,
little bit when like we're going into these ruins, he's like, go in the door. And he's like acting kind of weird at the castle. And then they talk about the tapestry and the rug and why is
yeah.
the Shepherd King everywhere? And you're
Mm-hmm.
like, is that where we're going?
Is that
And then
it's
he's
yeah.
sitting on the stone and is like, girl, let me out of your brain.
He's like, now would be the time. It gave very much, and I'm not going to give anything away. I'm not going to spoil anything, but I think you'll know what I'm talking about. In ACOTAR, there is a riddle in the first book. Do you
Mm,
remember this? And I remember at the end of that riddle going, "Oh, it's this." And then I was
yeah.
like, did I is it too easy? Like, I think I know and I don't. No, I did. It was like,
Mm,
oh, it is that. And just watching both Elspeth and Feyre struggle with it and then be like, I think I know what it is. Like, I think you need to catch up, babe.
yeah.
That's how I felt kind of toward this revelation.
I agree. But now
So,
we know.
but now
We're
we
in the
know.
know.
And I will say, reading it the second time, I could definitely tell. So the first time I was like, I think
There was so
maybe
many little nuggets.
there was, I won't even say nuggets. It's like there was an avalanche of hints and poems and riddles that were just like, he's the Shepherd King. And and I had my eyes wide open this time and I was like, ah,
Yeah,
gotcha, gotcha,
couldn't get
gotcha,
past me.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this realization for Elspeth is paired with, uh, I think something that she kind of knew, but is really admitting to herself that the more she calls on the nightmare, the more present and in control he has become. His voice is louder and louder. She's having a harder time containing him. And she even says, like, I'm starting to not be able to tell what are my emotions and reactions and what his emotions and reactions are. So we're really starting to hit degeneration here. I'm curious at this point, like, as far as like Elspeth's psychology and this degeneration, what were you tracking about like her relationship with Nightmare and like how she's trying to navigate this as she's trying to interact with the world?
I feel like she was doing all right. She was
Mm,
doing okay. I wanted her to, granted, like, I'm not quite sure what the timeline was. It still maybe is like I've only known her even a week. But I'm
mm,
like, girl, just they've given you so much. Like,
yeah,
let them in. Let them know, let them help you. Like, I know this is a big deal. It's a lot of pieces you're finally putting together. But I was like, can you just tell them more of what's happening? Like,
yeah.
why are we living in the dark with this?
Yes, it was such a push and pull between like, girl, just tell the truth. Such a big part of her arc is just not being truthful, just lying or lying by omission. And I all that time wanted to be like, girl, just tell the truth. The truth will set you free. And then I like in my counselor brain, I was like, how do we build empathy for her? And I can recognize that if her whole life is predicated on keeping much of herself a secret, you might fall into that pattern. That knowing that and tracking that did not help me at all with my impatience over it. Like I was just like, but still, give them something, a little
Especially
nugget.
when they've given you so much information where it's like the give and take. Like, you know so much
Mm-hmm.
about our plan, our lives, all of these things that, like, if we were to betray you, like,
Mm-hmm.
that's twofold. So I'm like, I'm pretty sure you can just let them know.
I'm
You could
pretty
just
sure they've given you the social capital to like have enough over them that you could probably trade a little bit of vulnerability,
That's what I'm
probably.
saying. Like, just name it.
Yeah,
You
just
know, it maybe would have sped things up.
yeah, yeah,
Instead of us being like, "We're racing the clock to help Emery because he's degenerating," and she's over here like, "I think there's something you should know, but I'm gonna wait."
I am gonna hold on to this until the last second though. Um, and I feel like that's such it's so emblematic of I think the struggle of counselors is like we can see how much truth and connection and vulnerability can like help you and set you free in the right circumstances with the right people and watching someone try to come to it on their own and like figure out who they want to trust in their time. It's like, you got this, buddy. Just tell your
Right, like, they're a good
boyfriend.
one. They're a good one. He's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, he bandaged your wrist and he respects you and he asks you all the time, "Can I touch you?" And he watches over you and his family feeds you and gives you a home and like
And he told you every secret under the sun.
he told you every secret he had. He bared it all.
And Elm's over here like, "Dude, she's not telling you everything."
Which this is where I'm on Elm's team because I thought I do think he can be a douche sometimes, but he's like, yo, I call him how I see him, and this girl ain't right. And
There's
everyone's
something
like,
with her eyes.
he's like, when her eyes look yellow and like a cat's, we should probably explore that. And Raven's like, no, I don't think so. Let's just leave that. Let's just leave that be. So she's still holding on to secrets, but she's trying. And they all go to market day. And the reason they're all going to market day, and I mean by they, I mean like Jesper, Elm, Raven, Elspeth, everybody, and also like everyone is there. The whole town is there. And market day is supposed to be this celebration, but what they're really trying to do is get the well card. Now that they have the Iron Gate, they set their sights on the well, and guess who has the well card? Elspeth's dad. Oh my god. And so they're all like, how do we get the well card? Let's try to like while everyone's at market day, someone sneak back. Like there's all these plans they're making. But um the sort of main action of that event actually turns out to be not much having to do with the well card. Raven and Elspeth, first of all, share a big passionate hug. I don't know what you thought I was going to say there, but it's hug. It's a hug to end all hugs. And it's one of my teehees. They wrote extensively about the nature of this hug. And then also, Elm kind of lets her know, like, I'm on to you. You're hiding something. I can see your weird eye shit. And also, you can't fight until you can. Like, what the fuck is with that? So they're kind of going back and forth when all of a sudden, Hoth rolls up, and with him is a little boy and his fucking family. And for the market day celebration where everyone's supposed to be happy, he drags this family and this little boy up because the little boy is infected and they have found out.
And
And
they've been harboring him.
Yes. Do you want to talk a little bit about what unfolds next?
I would love to.
You're like, I'm so glad you have asked me.
Hoth's a little bitch and wanted to knock Raven down a peg and just make a show of his like aggression and authority, and I'm gonna be the king someday, and look at me keeping everyone so safe, and stresses all these people out gallivanting in their merriment, and is like, you must watch us torture this family. And so he takes the parents' charms away, and they're holding the sweet precious babe, and he's like, watch your parents go delusional and frolic off into the mist. And so of course the parents are screaming, and Elm and Elspeth are like watching this because they kind of got like separated from the squad. They're watching all of this unfold, and Elspeth is like, do something. You have the scythe card that can kind of like control people, and that's what Hoth is using because the Rowans hold all of the scythe cards, which I think is some BS.
That's some big time bullshit.
And so Elm's like, all right, look what I can do. And he kind of goes head to head with his brother in like this display of like a power dynamic, and uses his scythe against Hoth's scythe, and the parents kind of like freeze, and everybody freezes, and because all their powers are working against each other. And so they're kind of going back and forth of like, why are you doing this? You're ruining everyone's day. This isn't how we do things. This is inappropriate. And does Raven pop in at this point?
He
Like,
doesn't. I don't think he pops in until the mist.
Okay. You take it from here.
Yes,
I don't want to
ma'am.
lose my
Don't
order
lose
of events.
Order of events. Yeah. So Elspeth basically, like, Elm tries to help, and it's working for a bit, and then somebody distracts Elm because he has to like maintain a connection. He can't lose focus. And so Elspeth, it all falls apart. The parents start going into the mist, and so Elspeth's like, if you want a job done right, do it yourself. And so so she takes the little boy by the hand and runs into the mist with him. Because he's infected, he won't be impacted. It doesn't matter if he has a charm or not. And she's running with him, and he's like, what do we do now? And she is being pursued by a destrier. So she's like, okay, she now has an extra charm in her pocket because she learned that one time. We lived, and then we learned, and that's all we can do, really. And so she takes the charm out of her pocket, she gives it to the little boy, and she's like, go find your parents, have them use this charm together, because they were walking back into the woods anyway. Like, once Elm lost control of what all was going on, the parents started making their way into the mist again. And so the little boy sort of cuts back to go find them. She lets him know that he doesn't need a charm, that his parents can share it. And Lyndon, the destrier, comes upon her. Yeah, this bitch.
He's like Hoth, but worse.
Yeah,
like the dumber version. I can't stand him.
He's a real idiot, and he's just gross. And so he comes upon her, and once again, Elspeth calls upon the nightmare, which is becoming quite the pattern. And she's like, Nightmare, fuck him up. And Nightmare does, and he almost kills Lyndon. He attacks him so grievously that he almost dies, and she thinks that he's dead. And she kind of comes to when Raven comes up and is like, Elspeth, what are you doing? And he like puts her arms around her, and she's like, blah, blah. She's like, what's happening? And then she realizes it's him, and what he sees is her yellow eyes, and then they both look down, and she has clawed fingers, and she's like she tries to hide those claws real quick, but it doesn't work. And ultimately he now is faced with information that he can't ignore, and that she also can't ignore. And so she says, I'm degenerating. That's ultimate. She still doesn't say the voice. She keeps that to herself, but she says, I'm degenerating. And I know this is a shock to everyone reading this book, but guess what? He handles it really well. Surprisingly, he like sees her secret and holds it with care and intention and helps her. And then they fuck. And it's, I presume, great, but all we see is the lead up, and then we fade to black. R.I.P. The scene that we could have had about that.
It was like, and then we ended up on the floor breathing heavily.
Yeah. It was like the next day, his back is rising and falling. I'm like,
I
oh my
snuck
God.
out in the morning.
Although I did like when he was like, can I kiss you? And she's like, you've already been kissing me. And he's like, not up here.
Not
Down
on the
there.
mouth.
Not on the mouth, you little nugget. And she's like, oh my God. And she learned some things that night.
She did. That was a good day for her.
Yeah, that was a good day for her.
She doesn't get many, so.
No.
We'll take what we can get.
Poor thing has a rough time of it, but it, if you can get it in on a tough day, then we do what we have to. So that all eclipses. It's the next day, and both of them are in like the post coital glow. Like, yeah, Raven comes downstairs. He's like, good morning, everyone. And
Jasper's like, you guys had fun.
And Elma's like, why are you smiling, idiot? And then he figures out, he's like, ew, gross, ew. But clearly Raven and Elspeth are happy. And if you're thinking, do they just get to be happy for a second? No, probably not. Emery escaped from Stone, and they find him, and he's near U, and so they bring him into the U Manor, and they're like, Emery, you can't be running away from Stone. You gotta stay there. What would happen if you like something happened to you on the road? And he's kind of half in, half out of it. But Emery tells Elspeth something very interesting, that the Shepherd King is a descendant of the U line, and that she doesn't have a lot of time before her degeneration is complete. And this is, I think, something that she knew, but it hurts to have confirmed. And Raven is very determined that they're going to find the well card and the twin alders, and that they're going to fix it. But I don't think that Elspeth is quite so hopeful. So next we see our friends. They are going to celebrate yet another thing. There's always a party and a feast.
Another feast. Yes.
Literally, we just bop from feast to feast. I wonder what that's like. It's like, how are we taking up our daylight hours if we're not feasting people?
And we still haven't received the well card. We have been unsuccessful.
Yes.
Of taking Elspeth's father's well card. So yes, we're feasting, we're jovial, and we're still looking for this well card. So it's all part of a bigger scheme.
Yes. What I thought was interesting about that is that, so the reason Raven only shows up when stuff's happening in the mist at the Market Day festival is because he was trying to find the well card back at the Spindle's place while everybody was distracted. Elm tries to give him shit and be like, where were you? You just follow Elspeth around like a puppy dog, da-da-da. And he's like, actually, asshole, I was trying to find the well card while you were all being distracted by other things. So
Right. Like we were busy,
We were
but
busy,
okay.
but sure, however you want to interpret these events.
Right.
And so now they go to another feast, and this time it is Elspeth's twin sister's name day, i.e. birthday. And they're like, oh my god, this is perfect opportunity. We're gonna be in the Spindles place. We can like top to bottom search the manor, take different floors, we can all work it out. And they're not having a lot of success. And you know, Elm and Elspeth are kind of chatting up on a floor somewhere, and they're all trying to find things, but the housekeeper starts getting on to them, and he's like, what the fuck are you doing up here? So they're all kind of coming back to congregate, and asshole Hoth, is like, shall we play a game? And
Well,
he,
no, he didn't ask permission.
that's,
He
do it.
tricked Ione,
Uh-huh.
and so she comes out and she's like, "Cousin, let's go sit together, have a drink."
Mm-hmm.
And then they're like, "This tastes funny. I feel a little funny." And Elma's like, "Why do your eyes look like that?" And then we find out that Hoth has used his scythe on Ione to have her lure them in and trick them into drinking. And so he's using the chalice card on them, which, as a reminder, makes everybody tell the truth, which we
Uh-huh.
don't need right now. So Elspeth is like, fuck.
She's like, can we not play the truth game? It's my least favorite game. But yeah, it's the creepiest part for me was the dead look in Ione's eyes when like this glassy look. And then I don't know why the picture was so vivid of like it was like, and then we noticed that there were 6 chalices instead of 5. And like Hoth emerges from the darkness and is like, hey everybody, you want to play a game? And everyone's like, ee, ee, ee. Like,
Actually, no.
we would rather not. That would be better for me, but it's too late. It's too damn late.
It is
And
too late.
so the way they play this quote unquote game is each person is subjected to a round of questions. So like Hoth has to answer a question from each person at the table, and they go around doing that. And you find out a lot of things. But I think the most important to the sort of like building to the climax of this story is that Hoth asks Elspeth what happened to her arm. And I thought this was a really interesting moment because Ione still tries to defend her. She's like, remember I said it was broken? Like, even when she's
She fell
cold-hearted.
off a horse.
Uh-huh. She's been keeping that secret because we talked about that she had been tracking it, but she never told Hoth, and she tried to maintain the secret at that table. Which it's like there must be a kernel of Ione in there if you're going to defend your cousin.
Yeah.
And so Hoth asks about her arm, and she, rightfully so, panics because she can't tell the truth without getting in a lot of trouble that she was in those woods as a highwayman. That's how her wrist is broken, etc. Raven, trying to be helpful, but also crossing a boundary, which I do not like, uses his nightmare card and talks into her mind to try to talk her through it. Now,
Which
again,
she told him to never do.
she said, I will help you if you never use that fucking card on me again. And he busted right through that. Now, I think he was scared. I think he wanted to help her. His intentions weren't bad, but
And also, if you try too hard to lie under the influence of the chalice, like it literally poisons you. And
yes.
so he's like, cool, you're going to die because you're trying too hard.
Yep.
I'm going to help you. And she's like, no,
Yep.
no, 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 no. And then he's like, in there.
he's in the maelstrom. He gets up in that noggin of hers, and he immediately tracks that something's not right. Like he's like, the fuck is going on in here?
Why is it so dark in here?
why is there a man talking from the shadows?
Or
Like,
quite literally yelling at him.
yeah, like it's a scary place to be. And I think it is kind of cool that we see Raven's perspective of her mind, because I feel like as a reader you almost get used to it. Like, you're kind of
Mm-hmm.
and you're like, oh yeah, this thing, this nightmare that talks into your brain, right? And I think Raven's perspective really reminds us how bad it is, like how
Yeah.
incredibly chaotic it is in her own mind.
Well, and the nightmare was also a little bit of a jerk when instead of just being like, "Hey, dude, can you just like over here in the corner? No, no biggie. Can you get?" He's like, "Dude, get out!"
He's like, get the fuck out of here! This is my
Yeah.
house.
And then
And,
Raven shits his pants.
and then he really smells like cloves and shit.
And then the book ends. Just kidding.
Raven shits his pants, and then there's a little riddle about it at the end, and then the book stops. Go into the mind and poop your pants. They do a little card. There's a card about shitting yourself.
Yeah,
And
and
then,
it's just like, "Ah, shucks." And that's it.
moral of the story, mind your fucking business. If you want to
Don't be a
not shit
liar and
yourself.
mind your business.
Oh my god. I would be okay. In actuality, I'd be so mad if it ended that way. But talking about it now, that would be fucking hilarious if you set up a whole book with like a complex magic system. Oh
Just for it to be
man,
like, "Whoops."
that got me so good. Oh girl. Okay.
Regroup.
So
Free to edit that out.
no, I am keeping that. That's perfection. Oh my god. Okay, so
Well, anyway.
so so how do you come back from that?
Yeah. Well, so
So
Raven's terrified, and he's like,
yes, yes. He was like, "Girl, there's some shit going on in here that I didn't realize." And um finally, like, she wakes up because she does like start vomiting blood. It's not funny. Just coming down from our conversation. And she vomits blood, and then they go get Philip, who's the physician working for Raven. He heals her. And when she wakes up, Raven and Elm are sitting there, and they're like, okay, for real now, girl, what was that? Like she's like, do I lie? It's like, girl, we're so fucking past that. Like,
yeah.
so past that. It's not even
Yeah.
funny.
Like, we can't wish that away.
Yeah,
That
can't
happened.
can't unsee that shit. Unfortunately, can't unsee it. So, she ends up telling them about the nightmare. And she tells them about the fact that part of her powers is that she absorbs the power of whatever card she touches. And so when she touched the card for the Shepherd King, he bartered a part of his soul into that card. And so the nightmare, i.e. the Shepherd King, became a part of her. And then it's really interesting because Raven talks directly to the nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
And he tells Raven that when Rowan, the first King Rowan, not the current King Rowan, killed the Shepherd King, his soul remained in the nightmare card. And so he kind of was alone in the dark for centuries until Elspeth freed him. And he saw it. You could tell, at least this was my perspective. I thought you could really see the gratitude that the nightmare had for Elspeth for freeing him, and that he really sees his role in her life as protecting her. He
Mm-hmm.
protected her as a child, he protected her as an adult, he's tried to guide her and tell her like bits and pieces of wisdom. And you and I could see that he's also done a lot of other crazy, wild, not cool shit. But in his mind, he just really sees, I think, what they've been to each other. And this blows Raven and Elm's minds, as I think it would anybody's. Um, and so, and she tells them that the body of the Shepherd King is under the stone in the chamber at the Castle U. So we as readers have been building this knowledge with Elspeth about the Shepherd King's connections to the U Castle, with the chamber and the window, the one dark window, as it were. The tomb and the body and all this stuff, and she finally brings that to light. So Raven and you, or Raven and Elm are like, cool, lots to think about. And Raven is still determined. He's like, we're not going to let you degenerate. He's like, we're going to figure this out, girl. And she's like, I don't think we are. But he's hopeful. And so Elspeth is recovering from her sickness and kind of trying to figure out what the hell to do. And her dad comes to see her. And you could tell Papa Spindle is having some regrets about the way he's handled things. He tells her that, not in a ton of words, but in some words. And guess the fuck what? He just hands her the well card. It's just like, I think you should have this. And like slides it to her. And she's like, holy shit.
They think.
Okay.
Gotta go.
All right, cool. Thanks, Dad. Love you. Bye. Like, I thought it was such a crazy moment that they did all this work.
I almost wish, like, I was glad it happened that way, but I wish there was a little bit more to it, I guess, instead of him just being like, your mom gave this to me, so I might as well give it to you. It's the last piece of this puzzle that this whole book led up to, but I'm just going to slip into your room. And I also haven't been a huge part of this book either. I'm going to slip in and be like, hey girl, how you feeling? Here's a little gifty.
Hey babe.
And then she just like goes and finds them and she's like, so anyway, I got a cool gift.
Which again, she rolls up and she's like, so my back really hurts from carrying this fucking team. Here's the well card. Thank you all for nothing.
Yeah.
Anything
like,
else?
Go off gallivanting, but before you leave, I think you should know my dad just dropped this off. But go run your errands.
I literally be like, here's the well card. And they'd be like, where the fuck did you get it? And she'd be like, I don't know. That's none of your business. I have my ways. I would keep it a secret. I'd be like, none of you busy how I got this card.
As I'm like on my deathbed from poison.
Yeah. You got to keep the attitude up.
I'm glad you guys are fine.
Yeah. Okay, so I think this marks the start, really, after this comes to light. This marks the start of like a descending series of events toward the end of the story. As this all comes to a head, Elspeth's uncle comes in and is like, hey babe, somebody wants to talk to you. I think it was like Ione or your stepmom or your aunt. He was like, somebody important wants to talk to you. Come on over here and talk to them. And she's like, all right, Unc, sounds good. So she follows him and is betrayed by him. And he hands her over to Hoth and his physician Orith, who, if we remember from not but a few minutes ago, are evil number 1 and evil number 2. And so they're like, thank you so much, you gambling degenerate uncle. On your way, sir. And they capture her, and they start torturing her, trying to get information to understand how she attacked Hoth in the woods. He's been putting the pieces together. He knows that it's her. And they want to use her as a pawn to get to Raven and finally set off a series of events that would be the downfall of Raven U. And as they're doing this, she tries to hold out. She tries to like be strong and like, you could do this. But at a certain point, she recognizes like, I'm not going to make it if I don't call Nightmare in here. And even what's so interesting, even Nightmare is like, don't do it. Like, be careful. Like, ugh. But she's like, no, I think this is where my degeneration ends. Like, I think this is how it ends. So at this point, because Raven has spoken into her mind and now he knows that Nightmare's there, he's been in her mind before, so she kind of doesn't mind if he's in her mind now. She reaches out to him through her mind, and is like, listen, don't come for me, they're coming for you. Like, you know those, like, I'm about to die cryptic statements that people start making? She's like, babe, don't worry about me, stay away. And he's like, the fuck are you talking about? We're like running
I'm like walking up the stairs right now, just chill. And
yeah,
she's like, there's not enough time. Tell the people I love them.
I
The
love you so
nightmare is
much.
about to officially take over my mind fully.
Uh-huh.
I try my best,
I did
but
my best. We paid our dues. It starts like that. Freddie Mercury song starts playing, and he's like, no, 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 no. And she's like, babe, this is it. Like, this is the end. And so her and the nightmare kind of make a decision together. They're like, all right, like, now I fall into the abyss. And she tells the nightmare, i.e. the Shepherd King, to help her one last time, knowing that she won't come back from it. And he takes over her body, and he, as he does, kicks everybody's fucking ass. He kills Orith, and he seriously injures Hoth, to the point where, like, he's totally incapacitated. And that's when Raven rushes in, of course, and he's like, Elspeth, are you okay? And she's like, I'm doing fine. And it takes him a second, but he realizes that's not Elspeth that's in there. That's the Shepherd King. And so he's horrified by this, of course, and is like, come back to me, baby. And the Shepherd King's like, Elspeth's not here right now. And we're all like, holy shit. And then the king captures Elspeth after all this unfolds, because she, like, maimed Hoth and killed a guy, and there are consequences to things like that. And so the king and the Shepherd King / the nightmare meet face to face. And the king's like, so you're gonna die. And the Shepherd King is like, un momento, good sir, you're forgetting that I have the knowledge in how to get the Twin Alders card. I'm the only one that can help you do that. And he says a riddle. He's like, it is in the place where it cannot be found. It is in between worlds. Like, he pops off. He gets poetic as fuck with it. He gets mysterious. And the king's like, well, shit. And it ends with, like, I'm the only one that can help you, because I'm the only one that knows where it is. And that truly, no one shits their pants, but that is truly where the book ends. So we've been on this mighty journey. After everything was said and done, obviously without doing spoilers for the future book, kind of where were you at with the whole arc of the story? What stuck out to you? What were you, like, most focused on by the end?
By the end, I was like, bitch, Hoth knows what's happening. Like, with the whole chalice situation, I was like, can we stop fucking around? Like, we're running out of time.
Where is the urgency?
And I really, truly thought in that moment where she was like, Nightmare, I'm just going to ask you to help me with this one last time. It's going to be fine. And he was like, you know, it's not. You know what's going to happen, right? Like, are we agreeing about, we're on the same page? And she was like, yeah, it's fine. Like, I really thought there was going to be this moment where, like, everybody dies. And the Nightmare was like, all right, I'll go back into my hole. Like, go kiss Raven, whatever. I don't want to see it anyway. But instead he was like, I'm back, baby.
He's like, guess who's
and I
back?
was like, wait.
Yeah. You were like,
you were supposed to do that, I guess? Like, you said that's what was going to happen, but I thought maybe you were tricking me.
I thought,
but if nothing, he's been honest. Even if it's been in riddles, he did kind of tell us.
You were like, I thought you were joking about that. And then
I was like, I just think that's not going to happen. And then he was like, it's happening.
Yeah, he's like, joke's on you, because it is actually fucking happening. Yeah. So I was like, and I'm like trying to cast my mind back to the first time I read it. I think I don't think I've ever moved from book one to book two so fast in my life. Like, I think I just like tossed book one and like wherever it was in the world, I like zoomed the book to me because I was like, I cannot fucking believe that she's gone. Like,
This book was the reason I utilized the library for the first time again
mm-hmm,
in forever, because I ordered the book, but I ordered it from like a secondhand book app that I use,
mm-hmm,
because you can buy them for cheap. And the person who I bought the second book from was like taking their sweet time shipping it. And I knew I was about to finish
hmm.
this book. So I was proactive. I like ordered it a few days ahead of time,
Yeah.
and she still hadn't even shipped it yet. And I was like, I can't wait for this. And I literally brought my ass to the library for the first time in who knows how many years. And I was like, what is this place?
Ham.
um,
Ham.
but I was able to hop right in because I felt the same way. I was like, there is no time to waste, quite as the
No.
nightmare has told us.
Yeah.
No time
Oh,
to waste.
literally, he fucking said it too, and we didn't believe him, and that's on
And
us.
I have to say, book two, I know we're going to get there.
Mm-hmm. Fabulous. Fabulous.
Twists and turns everywhere.
Oh yeah. This duology is an example of where it like truly ramps up. It's the
Yes,
first book is excellent, and the second book just builds on the excellence of the first. It really,
yeah,
I'm excited to talk about it.
me too.
But that wraps up our review of our plots and thoughts. So,
What a
shall we
day.
take a little break ski? And when we come back, we will get into our he moments. Does that
I
sound
love
good?
it.
All
Great.
right. Bye. All right, everyone, welcome back. We are here to go over our he moments. Now that we've been through the plots and thoughts, we've had our stars and our chili peppers. Now it's time for us to connect with what made us twitterpated, what made us kick our little feeties, what made us giggle. And Becky, we each have a good sized crop, I feel. What were your he moments for this book? What were the quotes that really got you going?
So, my first one is still when we're like, we're not the biggest fans of each other.
Uh-huh.
Um, and Elspeth and Raven are kind of having their little back and forth here.
Of
Um,
course.
but a bad boy moment just always gets me.
Hell yeah.
So I'm just gonna read the quote. He watched me, something I could not read flashing in his gray eyes. No, Miss Spindle, he said, I'm not nice at all. And I was
Oh.
like, no, you're not.
Ooh, I don't want you to be nice.
Because he's always like so like cool, calm, and collected, and like very just like, I've got my ducks in a row. And so for him to be like, no,
Mm.
not me. And I was like, yeah, not you.
He's like, not to brag, but I do kill people. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
hell yeah.
Kind of I'm kind of so horrible. And I was like, yeah, you are.
You're
So
like,
that just
say
gave
it,
me that vibe, you know?
give you a little stir.
Yeah, it was like I imagined him doing the whole like after the little
Ooh,
cheeky
ooh,
wink.
like just a little something.
Yeah, but he probably didn't because he's too
No,
cool
I
for
think he
school. But
did. I think it's just
oh,
as
okay.
real. Yeah, yeah. They
Yeah.
didn't say it. They didn't write it down, but I think it happened. I'm going to just
Yeah,
put that into
I believe
existence.
so.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what else you
So
got
my
for
next
us?
moment, most of mine, I really loved like the banter in this book that
Mm,
happened with the nightmare, even when it was like not supposed to give as hard as it did, but
yeah.
I ate it up.
Yeah.
So, mine is I just love it. So they were revisiting the fact that he just tore up Hoth in her honor.
Mm, mm,
And so he's doing one of his little riddles.
mm.
And he was like, but a prince is a man, and a man may be bled. He came for the girl and got the monster instead. And I was like, yeah,
Oh,
you
shit.
did.
Yeah, he fucking did. Oh
Yeah,
my God.
I was just like, good one. That
And
was,
I just picture that being like whispered into your ear, just like he got the monster
yeah.
instead. Ooh, ooh, okay. I'm
But
feeling
he's like,
ways about it.
you know, a little, a little
Eh.
arrogant about it. Yeah. He's like, so he thought.
He said and thought one thing, and that was not the thing.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I
That's
love
real
that.
true. And then my last one is one we kind of already alluded to being fantastic when we were just going
Mm,
through the plot of it. But it is in this like power dynamic struggle with Raven and Hoth where they kind of like puff up their chests to each other.
yeah.
And so it's the part where it says Raven stomped full force on the prince's hand. The
Mm.
nightmare hissed with gratification. Ione merely laughed. And I was like,
Uh,
yes, she did. Because what else is there to do?
bad
Hilarious.
bitch. Bad
Yeah.
bitch. Hoth sucks.
Because, yeah, this is a hilarious moment. And
So
so
So I'm
that was one.
noticing a different vibe between your teehees and my teehees. Yours involve violence and
Yeah, yeah.
intimidation. Yeah.
I thoroughly, because, we didn't have a lot of chili pepper moments.
No, we did
I
not.
was like, when I'm thinking of teehee moments, I'm thinking more of the moments where I was like, I got gassed up a bit. And I just really liked the moments that people got to like show their cards a little bit. Oh, Providence Cards, what full circle moment that was.
A.
Um, but
Uh-huh.
yeah, that was like the first time that Ione was like kind of being like, bitch. So I just really loved that for her that she got to experience that too. And also, I will say, some of the vibe of the second book as I was looking back through the first and I was seeing these moments where Ione got to like have her moment, it just I felt it more.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm stoked to list out our teehee moments for the second book. I think we
They're gonna
will
be a lot.
I think we're going to be especially well equipped for
Yeah,
teehee part 2.
I agree.
Okay, so I have several. I always do too much, and in the teehee moment, if Yarlin were here, she would be able to tell you that because she's lived through many of my teehees. And mine vacillate between like sexy hot and very romantic. It's very tender or, like steamy. So that's what mine are centered on. I'm not going to read all of them, but I am going to take a selection. And I think I'm going to start with literally the very first one that I tracked for the book on page 74. This was way before their Raven and Elspeth's dynamic fully blossomed. But it says, but as I watched Raven Yu's face, his gray eyes tracing the darkness of my veins, there was no fear, no resentment in his gaze, only concern and wonder. I'd expected shackles to be dragged off through the field and thrown into a dungeon, but the stillness of his body next to mine was enough to quiet those thoughts. Okay, I know this doesn't make a lot of sense, but I think the reason I loved this so much was it was the first time she was vulnerable, had to be vulnerable, and like Raven just held it for her and like
Mhm.
helped her to feel a little safe. And that does something for me emotionally, but also just like I find that mega attractive. Like you
Yeah.
just help this girl feel safe and she like does not get vulnerable with anybody. So I really like that. Then on page 113, this is one of those moments, when like they're in a situation where like somebody's rounding the corner and they have to be quiet, but it has to happen
Mm.
in a sexy way. This is that moment for me. Like we can't just like cower behind a door. We have to be touching and cowering.
Yeah.
It says, before I could speak, the captain was upon me, his hand pressing down on mine, stilling the latch between my fingers. What are you? Elspeth starts, and then he says, quiet, holding a single finger to my lips. I could feel Raven's chest swell as he sucked in a breath, sharp lines of strain creeping across his face. I remained frozen, staring up at him, his finger still pressed to my lips. It was warm, the skin rough. I inhaled abruptly, my lips parting against the skin of his finger. Raven lowered his gaze to my mouth. His finger slipped off my lips, his eyes meeting mine for a fleeting glance before he looked back at the door. And though it was too dark to be certain, I thought I saw a flush slide up his neck. Your finger touched my lips, and we had a blushing moment about it. Shit.
It was about to get it on.
I don't think that.
I
To get it
mean,
on.
it's happened for less. So,
You're like, I've made more from less, let me tell you what.
yeah.
And
I think it could have, different time, different circumstance.
if we had pants on and not a skirt, who knows what could have been happening. Yeah, this is where, if I were an author, like if I were in charge of fanfics, I would just have 15 fanfics where anytime they touch, it just ended in sex. Like that's just how I would operate.
That could have happened a lot in this book.
100%.
Coulda, shoulda, woulda.
Coulda, shoulda, and like, let's stop at shoulda. You shoulda done it. It shoulda happened. Make it happen. Let's go.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is my next quote connects to that moment. On page 272. Now they're really starting to get into it and talk to each other and have vulnerable moments. And this is Raven talking. He says, "When my sister suggested I court you at equinox, I resisted. I resisted, Elspeth, because I was already imagining how I might press my finger against your wet lips again, like I had in my room. And that was nothing to the wicked things I was imagining after we argued in the garden. I resisted because I haven't stopped thinking about you since that first night on the forest road. And I realized that at equinox, that the closer I let myself get to you, the less I'd want to be the king's captain, the less I'd want to pretend." You were imagining dirty things about me?
He sure was.
Now, you didn't act on them. That's a -1 for you on that one. But you were thinking about it.
But she was still this sneaky little character at that moment.
She
so
was.
He's like, I can't.
I can't possibly ruin my whole mission for this woman.
However, I'm looking at you in those pants.
I'm seeing those legs in those pants, girl. And something's happening. And then I'll give you one more, page 319. This is the morning after their sex sesh. And she got up and like sneaky went out the door before he was awake. And he was like, why'd you leave? Like, why didn't you want to cuddle? And she was like, I wanted to let you rest. And he says, I don't want rest, Elspeth, he murmured into my lips. I want you. Oh my God. You want
that's
me?
too dang bad, because all you're going to get is the Shepherd King.
That's a fucking problem, because you're going to be spending some time
here, buddy.
Yeah. You remember that feeling? Because it's not happening again.
You want these yellow eyes gazing up at you that whole time?
Imagine just Shepherd King with his like claws and yellow eyes. He's like, why? No, he'd be talking in riddles. He'd be like, and the two became one, and the flesh and the flesh. Like he'd be making statements, and it'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
So yeah, those are the teehees. They're not super spicy. They're not, there's nothing we can report back that totally causes a bluster, but we got some good moments in there. So, let's cross our fingers for book 2. Let's cross our fingers for book 2. And that leaves us finally to our therapy mind deep dive. And this is where we really put our counselor hats on, and we draw some connections between what we see in fantasy spaces and what we can draw toward the outside world, or to some of the things that we're seeing in the counseling space. So I've got 2 topics for us that I've kind of outlined as themes that I saw, or maybe topics that I thought might be interesting. That being said, any thoughts you have as we have the conversation, feel free to bring them to the forefront, because I think there was a lot we could have pulled from this. So the first thing that I want to bring up is the idea, it's sort of like masking your affect, matching your internal world. I think we could even couch lying in here a little bit, although I don't think masking and lying are the same thing. It's sort of like hiding your true feelings or hiding your true self behind something. And right from the start of the book, Elspeth talks about the fact that she has to mask or fake her affect to appear normal and not draw negative attention to herself. And Raven does similar hiding. You can see in the way they present. On page 95, Elspeth notices, she says, he, like me, had learned to still his face, to obscure his thoughts under a mask of control and austerity, which meant he, like me, had things to hide. And when we're talking about affect, what we mean is the connection between what we feel and experience inside and how it shows up in our physical presentation, like in our facial expressions. And counselors follow affect a lot, and track whether there is continuity or congruence between what's happening internally and how someone's appearing externally. There might be a lot of reasons why you mask or obscure your affect. It can be hiding frustration at a work meeting. It can include more long-standing reasons, like a lot of folks who are neurodiverse will talk about masking in order to blend in. If someone feels the pressure to blend into social circles, you can even have an affect that doesn't match your inner feelings without realizing it. I don't know how many I've run into so many people who will laugh when they're uncomfortable. And so that's a break between someone's outward presentation and kind of what's going on internally. When you think about Elspeth's psychology and her hiding her true feelings or nature a lot of the time, especially toward the beginning of the book where she really could hide it, what examples or experiences come to mind from the counseling space, and what can we learn from Elspeth's experience? What can we pull from her story?
I think for me, a lot of what comes up is not only, in the small examples you used of like hiding frustration in a work meeting and things like that, but I think even just like the bigger picture of even safety of,
Mhm.
what setting am I in? Am I in a place where it is safe to be my true self? Whether that's with my family or, working at the college, I'm meeting a new roommate, I'm in a class with people who feel different from me. I've worked with someone who has like visual tics
Mm,
and like trying to figure out ways to make that less apparent, the way that bullying comes out for that and for so many different reasons that might cause someone to choose to mask or, change their affect. But I think safety is a big part of that of, is it safe for me to be my true self in this space? How do I know when it is? And also, have I become so good at masking that I don't know how to let my guard down now when it is safe? I think that's a lot of the conversations that I do have with people when they notice, like, I don't feel
mm,
like I'm being my true self, or I don't feel like I can be myself. I don't know how to do that because I've blended in for so long that I don't know how to start to pull that away. And when we start to talk about why that came to be in the first place and what it feels like to start pulling that away, it is that vulnerability. It is that, like, I don't know that I feel safe yet.
I like that you highlight that the feeling of safety can be external. Like, if you're having a feeling like there's a person who is not safe to be authentic with, really tracking that, but it also can be internal of like, I like that you say, like, when do I turn it off? Like, or when do I turn it on and off? When can I um decide who are my people and who I can be my true self with? And I think it's that balance between navigating systems and choosing safe spaces. I also think, I like to say safer spaces, because we can't ever, like, life is unpredictable, we can't ever guarantee anything. But I also think it's a great opportunity for us as clinicians to like make space is safer. Like, how can I proactively use psychoeducation with a family, or are there ways that I can do community work so that folks understand what tics look like, or even stimming or other kind of behaviors, so that if someone is stimming or ticking or doing something in a public space, that the structure is set up to be supportive of that. And it's interesting because I've even seen, like, on social media, and I'm not saying social media is the best place to like see mental health content. I think there's a lot of bad stuff out there, but there is some good, in my opinion. I follow somebody who has Tourette syndrome, and they talk about how they move through their day, and they'll like do a video of them in class or at their work, or and just help folks to see representation of people with like tics or stutters or other things kind of living their life.
Yeah. And I think too, another part of it that comes up for me is also when I'm working with someone, like what version of themselves are they showing me?
Mm,
And also recognizing, like, in that counseling space, what someone is presenting as the part of me that they're showing, the part of themselves that they're showing me in that first session is
mm,
probably going to look different than when we're 10 sessions in and
yes.
they have been able to gauge, like, what masking do I not have to do here. And so I think that is something I'm always so mindful of what version of them am I seeing? What feels safe to show me? Where can I encourage or push for them to know that they can let down those walls in other areas, especially if it's an area that's beneficial to explore? Like, you're talking about this one thing, but I can tell you're so guarded around it. Or when you're
Mm,
saying the words, like, your affect looks differently. And sometimes, like you said, people don't even realize that's happening.
mm-hmm,
And being able to name it and bring awareness to it, because also when you're in the counseling setting, you can name it in a professional, helpful way,
yeah.
where I'm not going to say at my family dinner table when
Mm.
my sibling is saying something and I'm like, "Why are you making that face?" That's not
Yes.
usually helpful.
That's not conducive.
So, right, but I think in the counseling space, we have the privilege to be able to question some of the things that we're noticing in a way that
Mm,
feels supportive or understand, or like I'm trying to understand you, right? And so I think we have to have such an awareness of, like, even people who don't have, these big nightmares in their mind that they're trying to mask, right? Like, there's
mm,
still the version we're seeing and the version they're sharing is probably different than their true selves.
yes. And understanding that it requires patience on our part. Like, when a client comes in for the first time, we're asking so much of them. Like, come in for a session and just tell me all about your life. And it's like, lady, I don't even know you. Like, I don't know enough about you to know if I can trust you with this. So that's where I feel like taking the time to build that trust really gives us more and more of a window, and we see more and more of that authenticity. And I, as a counselor, like, I have such a like proud mama bear moment when like a client can finally get vulnerable with me. And I think it's such a key moment as a counselor where it's like, okay, I need to lock in and like be there in the right way right now, um, so that I can promote that kind of vulnerability.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
yeah. So I think us being able to sort of n- name even the process of counseling, hopefully for folks maybe who are listening who have never been to counseling, know that we as practitioners know that the process can be intimidating, and that we have the, as you said, the privilege and the space to be able to explore things with folks on a sort of time scale where you feel safe or safer. So the second thing that I wanted to highlight, and this one's a little bit more, I think anytime there's um a fantasy book that includes like an inside magical voice or sort of multiple experiences within one person's body, the first things that people sort of make connections to are things like hallucinations and what used to be called multiple personality disorder, but is now called dissociative identity disorder. Now, I want to be very, 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 very clear here that what Elspeth goes through is like a magical thing that has nothing to do with like the experiences of folks with who experience hallucinations and DID. That all is very magically driven. And I think it's important for us to kind of normalize or deconstruct some like misconceptions about hallucinations, delusions, things like DID. I'm not going to focus super on dissociative identity disorder for this one because I think that's a much, much larger conversation. But I did want to focus in a little bit on this idea of hallucinations and understanding what the difference between something like hallucinations and delusions are. So, hallucinations are essentially false perceptions. So, when someone hears or sees or experiences things that are not there. Delusions are more false beliefs. These are things that are not based in reality or can't be changed or altered with evidence that speaks to the contrary. And sort of lastly in that list is illusions, which is a misinterpretation of sensory inputs. And you can see this a lot with like, visual illusions, or you see a shadow on the wall and you think it's a person, but it's not, that kind of thing. And while we see hallucinations and delusions as part of mental health conditions like schizophrenia, there can be lots and lots of reasons why people experience hallucinations. And they can be related to medication. They can be driven by things like grief or substance use or sleep deprivation. And the reason that I highlight this is because many more people experience hallucinations and delusions for a variety of reasons than a lot of folks assume. A significant portion of the population will experience a hallucination at some point in their life. And so, given all of this, and in the name of kind of trying to wrap our minds around how to conceptualize hallucinations, what kind of, or what comes to mind when you're thinking about the role of hallucinations and delusions in the clinical space and everyday life? And what can people do to help cope with some of these things? Or even if someone has a loved one who's experiencing hallucinations or delusions?
Yeah, so something that I've talked with coworkers about when, we've been doing case consults and things like that,
Mm,
and it's always been helpful information to kind of like hash out and have these conversations, especially, in community mental health where there's so many providers that are working from different avenues with one individual or their family. And again, it is like providing that support of like, how do we help this person?
mm,
And something that is really important to note is for the person who's experiencing it in that moment for them, like that's the truth, that's their
mm,
reality. And trying to convince them otherwise can be more disorienting and it can cause a lot of like secondary emotions. And
mm,
so, not saying that you're going to dive in deep with them and, create a further story based on it, but trying to convince them that they're wrong or that what they're experiencing isn't true can be
mm,
pretty upsetting for this person when they're already having a hard enough time with what's going on for them in the moment. And so, if you have a loved one or you're trying to support someone who's experiencing this, just keeping that in the back of your mind that like for them this is their reality, like this is their
mhm,
experience. And you're not going to be able to convince them otherwise because for them, like, that's real.
mhm. And neurobiologically, it is real. Like your brain sometimes is telling you that something is happening, and we only have one lens. Like I only have one way to see the world through, and it's like in my own brain and my own mind. So recognizing that we can track some of these symptom patterns back to neurobiology. I will also say I think it's really important to know, as a family member or caregiver, or just a person who wants to support somebody who's experiencing this, to know where your limits are. Right. I think another thing is folks. I've experienced times where folks try to take on too much, that they try to essentially be the counselor or be the person who's like helping treat a hallucination or a delusion with their loved one. And in this realm, it's so important to get trained, like professional help on this, because and you mentioned this in our first point, but there are things that trained clinicians can do in the professional space, and that are prepared, that we're prepared to do, that I think family members and loved ones just can't do, or are certainly not prepared to do. So never hesitating to reach out for professional help if you need it.
Yeah.
So I highlighted those two themes, but I wanted to kind of wrap up this section by just asking if there was anything else mental health wise that you feel like we could draw out from this book into the real world, or do you feel like we have covered it?
I think the only other thing I would add, which kind of goes along with both of the things that we've already talked about so far, but when Elspeth is talking about the like trying to mask, or she's trying to have an interaction, and a lot of people are like, Elspeth, are you there? Like, Elspeth. And there's this dissociation almost that's happening for her, where like she's glossed over. You can tell
Mm,
like she's not participating in what's happening like in front of her in that moment. And
yeah.
I think that's something that we see in a lot of different mental health needs or situations that can come up for so many different reasons, whether someone is interpreting what's happening in front of them as unsafe and they kind of like turn within themselves looking for that safety, right? Or,
Mm,
that's overstimulated and they need to kind of like take a step back from that. But I think the way that it was described in this book, where other people are like, Elspeth, hello, and she's kind of
mm.
having this internal dialogue with the nightmare, it just reminded me a lot of this dissociation or depersonalization that people sometimes do experience when they're having something going on for them that feels too much.
Yeah. Well, and recognizing that it's a coping mechanism like anything else is. So, if someone's experiencing that, I think one of the things that I've run into with clients who are experiencing a bit of that, um, is the like, am I normal? Like, is this bad? Am I, like, eh, are you gonna like call somebody about me or something? There's this fear that because you're experiencing a moment of dissociation or a moment of depersonalization, that um that means something way, like we need to ring all the alarms ever. And sometimes it is a thing we need to get higher level of care for, right? But I think there are also lots of circumstances where it's like very normative, that your body and your brain are trying to protect you from something, and um kind of being on your body and your brain's team and being like, okay, how can we approach this in a way that works for the system?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's going to be it for our therapy deep dive this evening. But thank you so much for all of your perspectives. This is just like, we just filled like a thimble of knowledge of like what you could possibly talk about with these topics. So again, if any of this impacts you or you feel like it resonates with you, don't hesitate to reach out to a trained professional, because these are all things that we are trained and prepared to deal with in the clinical space. To wrap up this evening, we are not going to be doing our future thoughts and theories because we already know the answers. And what we certainly can do is our final remarks and our social media shout out. And I just want to start by saying thank you so much, Becky, for signing in, for chatting with me, for going through this book. I'm really looking forward to chatting about Two Twisted Crowns, and just seeing where this takes us.
I
Uh,
can't wait.
oh, I'm fired up. And if any of today's topics were triggering or upsetting, please make sure to seek out individualized mental health treatment. And remember, this podcast is for fun. It's based on our own opinions and experiences and shouldn't be used for diagnosing, assessing, or treating mental health conditions. Our next episode, out on December 3rd, will cover Two Twisted Crowns, which is the second book in the Shepherd King duology. And in the meantime, if you would like to support us, we are on social media. First and foremost, you can follow us on Instagram at Fae and Fables Pod. You can also subscribe and rate the podcast on the Apple Podcast app, Spotify, or YouTube. And if you'd like to send us a longer missive, you can email us at fanfablespod@gmail.com. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye!